All right, we are live. Cool. Welcome to another episode of 10 Horse Money YouTube channel, Monday Night Live. And got a great guest tonight. I'm super stoked to have Mikey Balzz on here. This is awesome. You don't know this, but you were a big influence on my channel, like your style and the way you approach the teaching aspect of it. And
right.
Yeah, and then how you talk really fast. I've been working on the speed talking, which is tricky.
Pack
Really
a lot of stuff into a little tiny thing, dude.
Yeah, man, it's awesome, man. I dig it. It's just it's good. It's a good time, man. It's
you don't have time
uplifting.
You don't have time to stutter when you
just gotta roll, man.
I'm roll, dude. You know what I find when you do that? Like, one, you're more honest because 90% of the time, the first thing that comes out of your mouth is probably what you should be saying. You know what I mean? And it's probably honest. And the other thing that I found too is, like, I get bored super easily, And I don't really watch that much YouTube, but even like watching Netflix and stuff, if it's like, dude, like, I'm standing up and I walk out of the room and I go work on something. Like, I'm just lost. So I kind of figured if people are watching the channel, like, or if I was watching the channel, I'd want it like fast, hard, and quick, fast, hard, and deep, I guess. But you know what I mean, dude.
That's right. Makes everybody happy that way. Yeah, I'm like that with like some Netflix series. I'll watch a couple episodes, and then once I figure out kind of what's going to happen, I'm usually done with it. I don't have that much retention.
Exactly, dude. So you got to pack it in. You get a brief window to freaking interact. Yeah, and it's funny too. You probably noticed with like the YouTube videos, if you actually go and you look at like your analytics and that, half the view, or actually, let me be more mathematical about it. The average viewer probably watches 6.5, 7 minutes of the video. So you have this window to deliver your juice, and it's usually in that first like 5 to 7 minutes of the video. And if you didn't get it across or you didn't render your deal, half the viewers that are watching it didn't even catch it. So like, if you're actually invested in what you have to say and you think it has value or meaning, you better punch that out and punch it out quick.
That's funny. I was gonna ask you about. I'm gonna move this camera over just a little bit. Yeah, because like in my analytics, it doesn't matter how long the video is. It seems like they're gonna watch half or a little bit less than half. Like if you make a 30-minute video, it seems like people will watch 14 minutes. If you make a 20-minute, you get like 9 or 10 minutes. And then if you make a little short video, they watch half. It's interesting. I don't know if it's because like there's some people that just click on it for a short period of time for whatever reason. And then there's some people that watch like the whole thing, and then it kind of averages out somewhere in between. I haven't really figured that out, but I was going to ask you about that. So that must be pretty common across the board.
Yeah, because a lot of my stuff averages like 12 minutes or so. I'll throw, if you really want to get into some fun stuff, a way to play with like the YouTube analytics is to do some short and long videoing, because a lot of times, yes, the algorithm, and I don't know exactly what's in the algorithm, but the algorithm favors longer view time. It also favors an increase. So like if you do better, maybe there's a lower view time for a video you just put up, then you put up another video and there's a higher view time. So that graduation into a higher view time, the algorithm will favor it and make your content more available. So one way you can actually game the system a little bit is, put up like a 3.5-minute video, put it, your view time goes way down, your watch time for that particular video and across the board, and then you put up a longer video, and then your watch time goes up exponentially. So you're actually gaming the algorithm. The algorithm's like, whoa, like this guy, like all of a sudden these people are watching, because it's a robot, dude. It's not a person. It doesn't say, oh, it's because it's a short video or a long video. It just sees that view time go up, and it can increase your views, or at least the dissemination of your video, because that's a big challenge we run into. Like, I like doing the videos, and I don't know everything, and I'm not saying my voice is the most important, because it isn't. I'll be the first to tell you. I'm also kind of an idiot, so like, that all being said, I think there's some value to some of the stuff that I bring to the table. So I want people to see it, and YouTube right now is not disseminating fishing videos. Like,
no,
compared to what reach and what do you call that? The notifications that at least my channel was getting like last year, and the experience that I've heard from other people, it's nothing compared to probably 1 year ago. It changed probably back in September or so, and they're really like shanking us, dude. So anybody in the comments and that, you know, if you like a YouTube channel and you think there's value to it or you want to support it, make sure you're going back to the channel and checking for new videos and stuff, because YouTube will not show them to you. They'll pump you full of a bunch of gimmicky, clickbaity crap and not show you the stuff you actually want to watch. And that's just my opinion, but they've really kind of shanked us as of late, man.
It's funny that you say that, because I was looking for you on my channel or on my homepage earlier today, and you were way down the line.
They hate me, dude. I don't know if it's because the channel's old or if they pick up on like the like, I don't know, the NC-17 rated like little subversive text that I thread into the videos. Like they actually understand that, but my channel gets hit pretty hard. But whatever, dude. It is what it is. Like, I want to grow the channel. I'd like it to be something that I make like real money off of. You know, we all have goals, and growing something, creating something of value is important. But at the same time, the one thing I've always done with the channel is mine. So all that sponsorship bullshit, all that, like, I don't do any of that because I don't want it to be polluted, dude. And like, that's just kind of, it's probably stupid because I could have probably made like a decent amount of money with like the channel and doing stuff, but in the end it's my little hobby, and if I can make it successful in my own way, that has a lot more meaning to me than just making some cash off of it. You know what I mean?
Well, and your followers are going to appreciate that more too at the end of the day.
I think so too. Yeah, it's
somebody that's real versus somebody that's doing it for
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, people dig fake. I've always wondered. I want to put up a video of what the hell is they gonna do? Like, something like about how. Well, I've always been curious of this. Let me frame it up this way. Like, so you know, you go on YouTube, you watch a bunch of fishing stuff. There's some stuff like that brings knowledge value. Tactical bassing pops into mind. Wired to Fish, even though they're kind of selling products, they still bring you valuable different tips, techniques, content like that. But there's some, and I'm not going to name any names, that like put on a facade and like they're literally faking the shit. Like, it's not real. And I've always wondered from a viewer standpoint, like, do people see that and they enjoy the entertainment value, and that's what sort of like garners the views and the dissemination? Or are people not aware that like you're literally being lied to in these fishing videos? And I'm not talking about like gimmicky clickbait stuff. I'm talking about like in real fishing videos. Like, you're literally being fed garbage, and they know they're feeding it to you. And I just wonder if viewers are aware of that, or if they, like I said, they like the entertainment. I wonder from a viewer perspective what's going on there.
Yeah, I think it's because you're as a viewer, you are trusting that what the person's saying, especially if you're a new to the sport of fishing. You know, you're trying to figure it all out. You're trying to take any tips that you can get, and you can be led down the wrong path. I always think it's interesting how there's some YouTubers that they're talking about a certain bait. You know, like just say a square bill crankbait or something. They're talking about, well, you this bait runs this deep on this line on this rod, and then you need this color for this water, and they only fish like once a month, and they put the boat in the garage from like October through April. And it's like, how do you
calling me out on the channel? Or
no,
what?
you're no, you not at all. No, but they're like, it's like, okay, you're telling me this, but how do you know? Because I'm not really seeing you on the water a whole lot, and it's like you're just reading the back of the package, or you're going to Tackle Warehouse and you're reading the description and stuff, which I guess there's some general information value. You know, if you want to purchase some crankbaits, it's good to know how deep they are, and maybe some general color color selections for dirty water, color selections for clear water, wind, cloud cover, that kind of stuff. That's kind of general stuff that you don't really have to maybe be out on the water to know. But I think there is some value in listening to somebody that's telling you, because they've been out there on the water and they've thrown these colors and this certain crankbait in a certain situation, and they've gotten feedback from the fish. I think that's a lot more valuable than if somebody is just reading off of, you know, the website or something, or what it's supposed to do. So I see I see some of that out there, and that's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really jabbing anybody.
I don't mind someone speaking truth from their own perspective, even if it's a limited perspective, you know what I mean? Because in the end, like, they're I don't even know how to say it. Like that's their frame of reference, you know? So it's true from their frame of reference. So like, I don't mind that. I guess what I'm more talking about is like, I'm not going to go into like names, but literally like there's people like that fake, like they'll fake catches. Like you might not totally pick it up when you're watching videos, but like it's happening, dude.
Really?
Like, yeah, shit like that. Or like it's blatantly like sponsor oriented, which is totally fine in a context. Don't get me wrong. Like I got no problem with these guys trying to make money, but like the very like obvious like interjection of sponsorship stuff, or you got a guy that like was like 1 year ago, he was throwing X, Y, and Z, and you needed an X, Y, and Z to do this and this and this, and turn the neck like a stick bait. So say it's like a stick bait, right? So 2021, he was X, Y, Z, and it's a stick bait. 2022, he's freaking, it's BHY, but it's a freaking stick bait. Like it's so over the top, dude. And like, I don't know, it just annoys me, dude. It is what it is. But I mean, that's fine. Like in the end, I hope that, what do you call it? Like kind of the cream comes to the top or whatever. And maybe gradually as people are fed so much like garbage or so much, not even garbage, but their stuff's so full with such saturated kind of, I don't know, it is kind of garbage, I guess.
Fluff,
that maybe gradually, you know, they'll kind of look for a more honest perspective. They'll look at some, like, because my channel isn't that big, dude. Your channel isn't that big. I'm not being mean or anything, but like a lot of times, more grassroots oriented channels have a lot to offer, and you got to go through that search engine. You got to go down the line of videos and look. But I'm hoping maybe at some point that'll kind of creep up. People get sick of the same old thing, and maybe they'll do a little deeper search, a little deeper dive, and maybe find some things that are of a little more value, a little more honest, and a little more direct.
Yeah, man, I'm with you, dude. I like that ideal too. I feel the same way. I'm just trying to, and I always tell people, I'm just trying to keep it real. I'm talking about, you know, what I'm learning. Like the way I kind of approach my channel is, I learned stuff throughout this journey, and as I go out and I apply it and I kind of figure a few things out, then I kind of share it on my channel. And you know, I'm no professional fisherman, you know, but I still go as much as possible, and I'm still like a student and really trying to learn stuff. Sometimes it's probably to my detriment because I'm trying to learn so much, you know, in a limited amount of time that I'm not focusing on one technique as much as I could. You know, one thing I do try to do is like pick out 1 or 2 techniques a year. Maybe like this winter, I've been kind of working on a blade bait. You know, I haven't really thrown a blade bait a whole lot.
It's a good year for it, dude. It's been so damn cold.
I know, man. And it's cool. I got a little, you know, all it takes is like one trip and you catch some fish on a bait, and you're like, okay, you start putting the pieces together. But just picking like a technique or 2 every year and trying to focus most of your time on it, because you know how it is with creating content. It's like you don't want to do like 7 frog videos in a row, even though the frog bites on and they're hammering it. You're trying to like find a different way to catch fish in the same scenarios, and sometimes you miss. Sometimes you go out and you're like, I know I can catch them this way, and I'm going to try this other way, and it ends up sucking. And you're like, dang, I just kind of like, I had a good opportunity to make video A, and I chose to not make video A, and now I don't really have a whole lot. So it's fun, man.
It's kind of the cool thing that happens, because I don't tournament fish anymore. I might fish a derb here and there, but like I just have no interest in that. I don't like the environment of it very much. But the way I look at it is, when I go shoot videos, that's sort of needs sort of like a driving challenge, I guess. And obviously the primary challenge across the board is, you know, catching fish, figuring out a pattern, right? Like no matter what we're going out for, whether it's a tournament or video, that's the main thing to start off with. But it's kind of fun with the videos to do exactly what you're talking about, like to play with different baits in an effort to kind of keep the content fresh, but also it's sort of drives you to learn about new baits too, because I'm like, wow, that would be a cool video. I wonder if I could actually like catch a fish. You know, a great example is it's sort of like intermingled, but I caught a bunch on a Kitech, little ball head finesse Kitech. I love fishing that thing, especially in Alabama and for spots and that, and I'm pretty good at it. Like I do some different things with it, but I was catching them like 3-4 trips in a row, dude, like bunches of them, and I'm like, this shit is boring. Like, not for me. Like, I'll catch fish like all day long, but I'm like, I got to do something different. Like, I got to reinvigorate. So I figured out this little deal where I actually stick a blade in the butt of the freaking swim bait. I cut the tail off and screw that thing in, and boom, it worked. It's almost like, it's kind of like what I talk about in the videos, where you're doing the same presentation, the same bait, but you just create some little nuance with it. And a lot of times that can be the difference between, you know, the standard same content over and over again and something new, and then you learn something new. And that's what I always try to do. And like you said, though, oftentimes it leads to sucking. Like, it just, I have so many failed days when I go out and try to shoot video, especially after moving to Alabama, a new place, a river fishing. I'm the worst freaking river fisherman to ever walk the earth, dude. And like, I literally have to deal with that every time I go out. But it's a fun challenge to go out there and try stuff. One thing I've been doing lately too is I'll go on the Tackle Warehouse, what do you call it, the most popular baits, and troll around, because I'm coming from a place in Florida. We literally don't have seasons. We have the spawn and not the spawn. You know, like that's the way it works down there. So there's all this different seasonal movement and seasonal activity that I'm not super familiar with. We got all the bait and fall. We have kind of like that pre-spawn, like late winter kind of deal when those fish are kind of staged up in groups, but they're not really spawning yet. They're not really shallow yet. And so I'll actually troll Tackle Warehouse and look at some of the most popular baits and be like, dude, I've never used that. Obviously, it works this time of year because guys are throwing it. You know, it's something that's popular. Let me give that a try. And I'll buy a couple random things. Half the time, they go to shit and they don't do anything for me. But every once in a while, I'll learn something new, try something new. And it gives me a little bit of extra confidence because I know people are buying it. It's like almost like crowdsourcing an opinion, you know? Like they're obviously throwing it. People are buying it. So it probably works.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's a really
Carolina rig buzzbait. That's hot.
I've heard that, or a hula popper.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You see
the general consensus is, where's the pup at? Where's Bog?
Oh, I can get him. Hold on.
We're on Bog, man. We love dogs.
Come on. You gotta be on TV, dude.
Come on, Bog. Bring it.
He's a little camera shy, dude. He didn't get to lick too many fish today. Come on. Yeah, he's also super lazy. Come on. Any day now, dude. Come on. You want to be on the camera, dude? Come on. You got me in my blue sweatpants and freaking slippers.
That's look good, dude. You look good, man. Big pimping. What's that, Bog? Hey, Bog. You're a big old dog. Man, I'm a letter carrier, so when I see a pit bull, I'm like, I get nervous.
You turn the other way. You ain't getting your mail today, dude.
They're actually really good dogs.
They are, and most of them are nice, but the ones that are mean are really freaking mean, dude.
Yes, so they are.
It's kind of one of those things. But...
So on bill day, do you let Bog out, and then on Tackle Warehouse day, you put him away, or what?
Wait, what?
I said on bill day, when you're getting all your bills in the mail, do you put Bog out, and then on Tackle Warehouse day, do you bring him back inside?
Yeah, my life and my firstborn child are like owed to Tackle Warehouse. So I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna be able to run out on that bill.
Yeah, everybody's talking about the snowstorm that is about to ensue this week, snow and ice. So
yeah, we got some nasty weather like Thursday.
What, 3 to 5, 5 to 8?
I don't know, man. They don't really know. It's like I heard somebody say 2 inches of ice, and I heard somebody say 10 inches of snow. And man,
I'll take 10 inches of snow over a quarter inch of ice
every day.
I'll tell you what, though, that's one of my dreams with moving to Alabama is I want to shoot a video, like a fishing video, not like me talking about baits and shit like that, but like a fishing video in the snow catching fish. I think it would be like one of the coolest, like cinematic, like you could do so much cool like stuff with the snow falling, get like the snow crisp. I don't know, it'd be super cool. And I've been told, because you know they bite during low pressure systems, and that when it snows, they freaking chew, dude. At least on the Tennessee River.
Yeah.
We've caught them on top water in the snow.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. Sometimes around, I got a video. It's a couple years old, but I was punching grass, and the water was like 48 degrees, and I caught a pretty nice punching fish, and there was snow on the bank. You know, it was like
awesome.
It was really cool.
It's been years ago, but we were practicing for, I think it was either a college tournament or a local team trail tournament around here. And we had all like 4. We had snow, sleet, hail, rain, and a thunderstorm all in the same day.
Sounds horrible.
At one point, we had snow on the deck, and then it melted, and then we had hail on the deck. And it was like, what in the world's going on? And then by the end of the day, it was sunshine and like 45.
Yeah.
It was a crazy weather day. So
Get a little bit.
It sounds like a tornado day, dude.
Yeah.
yeah.
No doubt.
Kojak Basson wants to know, did you find a new boat?
I'm working on it. As soon as I kind of figure out. So they've been asking people watch the channel have been asking to do a tin boat. So I actually have a review of an Express X21 going up I think this Thursday on my channel. I did my buddies, which was a very interesting experience. I learned a lot about that because if you guys watch the channel from way back, like my roots are tin boat, dude. Whether it's a John boat, I rented a John boat, then I modified like a 1977 16-foot John boat with a tiller, and then I had the tracker, and then I got that 06 Triton, and then I've been in a glass boat ever since. But I have been curious about the bigger, I guess you'd say, like tournament style, not so much like a tracker 195, but maybe like a 20-foot, 19-foot, like 21, maybe like Express, things along those lines. So it was interesting to go through that one. And I got a few other glass boats that I want to do, like a Camus, kind of like a high-end, new style glass boat or new brand glass boat. And I'm going to kind of make my decision. I'm leaning in one direction now, but for cinematic, cinematic effect, I'm gonna kind of hold out until crack the box open on the channel.
Build the drama.
Yeah, that's cool. We both fish out of 16-foot aluminum tiller boats.
Dude, they're sweet.
Oh, he had a range, or he has a Ranger. I had a Ranger. I sold mine because every day that I went fishing, I had either option sitting in the garage side by side. And I'd always hook up to my John boat every single time.
Those John boats. So my dream, like it all comes down. Everything's about money. But if I can make some decent money, there's some horsepower restriction lakes near me, and I would love to pimp out a freaking John boat like I did way back in the day. Put a deck on it, and then I already have my good graphs in that. And as long as I put brackets on, I could put good graphs on it because you just switch the graphs up,
Right.
But you can mod those things, dude, so much, and put giant decks on them. Like there's so much you can do, and you don't you're always, dude, you have the drill bit, and you're looking at your glass boat, and you're like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
With the John boat, you're like, like whatever, let's get after it, So you can do some fun stuff.
I put a recessed foot pedal tray in my Ranger, my 520, and talk about
how many times
a big
did you
square out of your fiberglass deck, dude. That was tough. And there's like a drain tube under, or there was some kind of support. It's like a PVC tube that was in the middle of the deck. It's an older Ranger. I didn't know about it.
Right.
And I got down there and I thought I screwed something up. I'm like, this boat's going to fold in half on me. I mean, it was like, it didn't really matter that I cut it, but I didn't know it was in there. And you can't tell until you start cutting away. But yeah,
I can't turn back either. Like that. No, that's the other thing, dude. Like once you go, you got to send it. So
that's the great thing about aluminum boat. If you screw something up, you just take it over to the weld shop and they fix it.
Yeah, that's true. That was the only downside with an aluminum boat. I ran that tracker on Okeechobee for quite a few years, and I ran water I probably shouldn't have run. Not super hard, but there's days out there where like it's gonna roll 3 foot, 3.5 foot, and like you can't escape it. Like you got to get back, dude. Like you can't just sit out there and be like, oh, I'll wait till later, So I actually split. Is it called the knurling or the curling? I split that on the front where they actually juncture, and it had a little hairline split in it, and getting that thing fixed was a headache, dude. And I knew the moment it split the first time, it was going to split again, because once you have that weakness, it just keeps coming back.
Yeah, fortunately, we're kind of in the same boat as a couple lakes that you said around you. The horsepower restrictions, everything's 10 horsepower or less around here.
Not everything,
but a lot of lakes are. We got probably 5 to 7 lakes within an hour that are horsepower restricted, that are really good lakes.
And then a lot of our lakes are like 3,000 acres or less, so you can run around on a 10 boat.
Those kind of lakes, dude.
Yeah, they're fun,
dude. So that's what I love, fishing like big tournament lakes and stuff like that. But I'll be honest with you, I like getting on Google Maps and like sneaking around and finding stuff. And just like the video thing we were talking about, most of the time you fail. You know, you run across like a dink fest. A lot of the lakes have small fish, or maybe they don't have any for the most part. Maybe they have crap grass. Maybe they don't have grass. But dude, you find a couple of those juicy little ones, and you can find trophy class sleeper lakes, dude. Like it's or just like gorgeous, different kind of like try different weird stuff fishing lakes. There's a few down here that actually have like trout and stuff, and they're known for big spots, but you wouldn't know unless you like looked into it, you know, and figured that kind of stuff out. So I love those little smaller lakes. It's I don't know, there's something about it where it's like I'm probably gonna start my motor maybe like twice today, you know, and I'll idle to every spot or something like that. Like I like that, picking things apart really small. That shit's fun, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I just discovered we got some strip pit lakes about an hour and 20 minutes north of us. And I'd heard about them over the last 4 or 5 years, but I never made that road trip. And I started going up there, and it's cool, man. I mean, like you said, there's something about going just to a new lake that you don't know anything about and just get out there and exploring. Sometimes it's like, it's not the right lake because it wasn't managed well, and it's kind of like a bluegill panfish lake. But then sometimes there's like a bunch of 4 and 5 pound bass swimming around in it, and you have a heyday.
And the other thing too is like some of those lakes, I know in Florida where I fish, some of those lakes are dink fest, and it's, you know, it sucks, say 80-90% of the year, but you hit them during the spawn and you know when to time them, and all of a sudden the 4 7-pounders that are on the lake are on a bed sitting in 1.5 foot of water, and you can look at them, you know. So there's people laugh when guys fish like some of these smaller lakes, like the big tournament guys, but there's an art to timing these places, having like a, I don't know, like a list or sort of a collection of lakes that you know exactly how they time and behave, and being able to kind of play off of each of them, like with timing, with windows, with seasons and that, and really juice them, dude. Like I do that in Florida a lot, man, especially for bed fishing. There's a few lakes that suck 90% of the year, but dude, when it comes to the spawn, you can look at them.
There's a really, really, really small, like 150 acre lake that I just pray every year in the spring when it rains that the overflow gets like jam full of debris, and it gets up like 3 foot high because it's
then the big ones.
It's a dink, like you said, it's a dink fest. The entire lake's a dink fest,
but they're in there.
But when it comes up, it's 4s, 5s, and 6s all day long, flipping bushes.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? I think that's kind of to link that to other things. In some of the other podcasts I was on last week, we were talking about active target or forward-facing sonar, and I think that's one thing that's really interesting. And we're in the kind of the heart of it now. You know, it's starting to peak. These lakes where we thought there were a lot of dinks, or maybe areas even where it just seemed like they weren't there. We're starting to find, like, if you turn that thing in the other direction, or you turn that thing into open water where you don't think there's a bass, there's a 6-pounder, there's a 7-pounder. Whether they're catchable or not, that's still a question. And that's probably something that's developing. I talked about it in another podcast where I think there's a whole genre of baits that's probably going to be developed specifically for targeting these suspended fish that you're seeing on your active target. But it's really showing that these lakes have, yes, the normal bank beater kind of style fishing and all that standard sort of Bassmaster magazine kind of stuff, but there's a whole nother environment or a whole nother setting where these fish set up, dude, where we might not even know there's giants sitting out there, and now we're just starting to see them and be able to catch them, dude. So that's the other thing that's kind of interesting. Some of these small lakes, that's one thing I want to do when I get back to Florida. A lot of times during summer, I'll hit some of these small lakes for schooling fish, because literally they'll school in the middle of the lake over nothing, you know, whatever. Well, I'm convinced these fish they're during the rest of the summer, you know, when you can't see them popping up, they're swimming around out there because they're not in the grass, dude. So like getting out on a small lake where I can put my trolling motor down, turn on that forward facing sonar, turn on my active target, and just troll around and not be intimidated by the fact, like, dude, I'm only going at 5 on my trolling motor, I'll never cover water. Well, if it's a big circle basin that's only like 1,000 acres, it doesn't really matter, dude. If I turn that thing on high and kind of dart around and look around, maybe look for bait and stuff on my big graph and then slow down, I think I can really find some naughty untapped stuff.
We just bought Live Scope. I got mine mounted on the boat over the weekend, and I took it out yesterday for the first time. I mean, I've been in the boat with Active Target and with Live Scope, but to go out by myself and have my own boat, loaded up with that technology, it was really cool. I'm super stoked to continue. In fact, I was like, man, I'm going to call in sick like the next 5 days from work and just go every day. I know. I didn't know. So my boss should be happy with me. But yeah, like, okay, so there's like there's like shallow water fishing, and then there's offshore. I know you can be shallow when you're offshore, but I mean like, ledge type stuff offshore. And then there's like what you're talking about. There's like open water. It's like a new frontier. And I'm excited to go, especially like this lake he was talking about. It's 150 acres. You can definitely get out offshore and kind of just cruise around and see what all's out there. And I know a lot of the crappie guys are doing that. They're targeting like just like 2.5, 3, 4 pound crappie, and that's it. And they just pass up the other stuff. And then there's some, like what's his name? Josh Jones, I guess. He's always catching big fish with the Active Target or the Live Scope. But there's people that are doing that, and it's cool to be able to try that. You just kind of got to probably get a different mindset, not cast at the bank.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like big bait fishing, dude. You're not fishing blind and just slanging, but you got to put yourself. I think the one thing that I'm finding, because I've had it for like 8 months now. So you can use it as a tool in the sense that you already know there's fish there, and then you, like, say for instance, like a brush pile or a ledge. So you mark them on your big graph. They're there. You use it to set up better, as well as to see how the fish change as you fish them, which I think is interesting. But then the wild card is using it solely to find fish. And what I'm finding, especially with that open water thing, is you almost have to put yourself, at least to start, because I don't have a bunch of confidence, like you got to put yourself in a statistical likelihood that there's fish. So like an example would be, versus just going out in the middle of the lake and dropping the trolling motor and like looking around.
Right.
What I'm going to do, one of my goals is, like, Guntersville is known for bridge fishing, right? So that's a big deal as we go from kind of like the pre-spawn to spring. Every year, like tournament big bags and just big bags in general are caught off those bridges. Well, the wild card there is we know the fish are on the bridges, but there's all this area around the bridges. Guys will fish the riprap and catch them. Well, there's these open water right where that creek channel goes through the bridge where they gotta be. I've caught them on an A-rig 20 feet off the bridge, not like kind of knowing the bait's there, but not knowing that in particular fish was there. So one of my things is to kind of put myself in a high statistical likelihood of being around fish, but then push off and look around sort of that I guess community hole, and like sort of use that as a starting point instead of just kind of throwing it to the wind and just slanging it out, because I think that could get really frustrating really quick.
Well, those fish on those bridge pilings came from somewhere, right? So, I mean,
exactly.
And they're replenishing daily, always coming through that pinch point. So where are they coming from? Are they nomadic and they're just coming up to feed? Or do they just pass through? Well, if you can catch them before the tournaments catch them out there, that's going to be that next untapped water. And I'm with you. That's what I'm more curious about since I've gotten Live Scope, is going out and finding these untapped fish.
Well, and like the fish behavior, like yesterday, I only had like 4 hours out there yesterday, but I spent quite a bit just kind of setting the Live Scope up and messing with my color palettes and all that stuff. But the funniest thing I saw, two things that jump out. One was funny, was I was throwing that blade bait out and I saw some fish on the bottom. And I'm kind of working it towards them, and I'm getting closer, and the anticipation's building. I'm like 20 feet away. I'm like 15, 10. And then I get within like 2 feet, and that fish just shoots 100 miles an hour off the screen. It got the hell out of Dodge. It was hilarious. I was like, I scared your ass. It was hilarious. And then the other thing that was really cool was I was fishing this channel ledge, this creek channel, and my boat's sitting out in like 30. And I know the drop comes up, and then there's like, it probably comes up to about 7, and then it flattens out and runs up to the bank. So there's about like a 15-foot flat maybe, and then it drops off into the channel. And my boat's out in the channel, and I'm casting. I'm like, I kind of know about where it's at, right? And then I spun my trolling motor foot pedal around, and I hit the forward facing sonar, and you can see that drop just plain as day. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly 30 feet away. I can land my bait within 5 feet of the top of that ledge. That's really cool, man.
So
that's
I
neat.
thought I was really detail oriented with dropping my waypoints. Like, so you guys watch videos, you know, like I fish a bunch of brush piles and shell bars down in Florida. I'm like anal retentive, dude, about laying out my points, like being super precise, like with how things lay out, because obviously that makes, you know, your cast so much easier, because you got to hit that line. You got to know where something starts, where it ends. Depending on the wind, you're going to have it at different angles. And what I was amazed at is how 5 to 10 feet my waypoints are off. And just by using my active target, and it doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking about 3 fish sitting on a shell bar that's the size of my room, that's a big effing deal, dude. You know, because you're throwing your bait past it, bringing it through it. Well, if you're 5 off, dude, you could be left, you could be right, like, or if it's a swim bait, maybe you're up. Like, it's crazy how just that real time sort of view of your target is so, I don't know, it changes the way you approach it. And then the other thing too that I noticed is how you bring fish off of stuff, dude. Like, and they get scared away. That's really disheartening. I hate that. When they chase or when they go down, that's when I get really excited. But I was amazed that like on these brush piles, I'll catch like a 5, right? And I'm like, dude, hot pile, let's get after it. Well, dude, now with this active target, I brought 6 fish off that pile, dude. They all came, and they're taking like 2.5, 3 minutes to get back there. If I make another cast, those jokers aren't even home, dude. Yeah. Like, it's really weird. The other thing too that I've noticed, and this is something actually, maybe your commenters, like guys watching, might have a better idea. I have noticed that fish come to the active target. Now, granted, I'm fishing and throwing a bait at a target and bringing it back, which could play a role, but I do think there's something to that ticking, and they come, especially spots, dude. They come towards the beeper, towards the transducer, even when you haven't cast it. Like, I'll point that thing at it, and all of a sudden there's fish coming towards me. The boat isn't moving or anything like that. But I do think there's some kind of weird interaction. So I'm starting, when I go back down to Florida in July and August, big brush pile season, big deep water season, late summer, you know, I'm going to play around with actually like turning the thing off or not pointing it at the pile. Because I noticed when I'm pointing at it, they'll freaking come out, dude. I think they're curious about it.
That's really interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it really makes sense.
I mean, I could be totally wrong, dude. You know what I mean? Because you're throwing a bait at it and bringing it, but there's something. It's happened one too many times for it just to be the bait coming through. Like, I don't know. There's something going on. It's something I need to explore a bit. But shit, dude. I mean, it's like anything else. It's like why we side scan fish on a ledge versus drive right over them. You know, that noise over the top sort of breaks them out, and that they don't like that. They don't like that direct ping. You know, side scan, you're still pinging them, but it doesn't seem like it affects them as much. So they get smart. They're stupid, dude. Like, super stupid. Like, I don't know which is dumber, us for chasing them or the fish themselves. But like at the same time, they're animals. They learn and they adapt. They don't know why, but they recognize certain correlations. You know, like when we get pinged, bad things happen. So there's something to it.
Yeah, it's just instinct, man. It's just pure.
We can have fish that
instinct.
are growing like 3 eyes and toes and arms before it's too long with all the radiation that we're sitting out there.
Yeah. Let's I'm gonna make an announcement. People that are new to the channel, we are gonna have a giveaway tonight. We're gonna have some Gambler Lures giveaway stuff. And the way the giveaway works, I know a lot of people on here have been on these streams before, recognize a ton of faces, but I am seeing some new faces on here. So we do what's called a Sasquatch giveaway. So sometime during the stream, we're going to make a reference to a Sasquatch. And when you hear that magic word, you're going to guess a number between 1 and 200. And Mikey's already picked a number. So whoever guesses that number is going to win the prize package tonight. So it's a lot of fun. Good luck. It'll be coming here before too much longer. And Deweese Outdoors says, Mikey, what do you do for a living besides killer videos with Bog?
I wish I could make a living doing that. So what I do is, this is going to sound super fancy, I'm a consultant. So, but what that really means is I work for myself. I do a bunch of like, I guess you call it social media administration and management, various kind of like digital stuff in that regard. So basically all I need is an internet connection to work. And I work with a bunch of different people, some fishing companies, some not fishing companies. But I was really fortunate kind of to be in that window when sort of the web really flowered. It was always around, you know, but like probably in 2012, 2013, it really started becoming a large component of mainstream marketing. And by like 2016, the fishing industry is always kind of behind. So by like 2016 or so, all of a sudden, like the fishing industry recognized, hey, you know, like we need to be on Facebook, we need to be on Instagram and that. And, you know, I already kind of had a very good grounding in that. So I was able to sort of hedge the knowledge I already had to open up some opportunities and make some money, dude. And I kind of survive on that. So the YouTube channel is my little, granted it's grown and I probably make more money off of it than I ever have. But it's definitely not like, it's rice and beans money, not like filet mignon money, you know? So like, I got to kind of grow that a bit, but it'd be really cool if I could get it to a point, but I've always been one to hedge. You know, I'm always like, it's the end of the world. We're all going to die. So I like having a lot of things working. Plus my mind is always jumping around. So I do a million different things. And that way, if one thing comes crashing down in absolute and utter failure, it's like, yeah, I still get to eat dinner tonight.
You're diversified, man.
I am diversified.
It's like you're a mature adult type of guy.
That,
Small Water Charters is down there and Headwaters.
Yeah, he is a super cool dude, man. I always run into him when I go to Kenansville and Headwaters and that. He has the most, dude, you want to talk about a pimped out tin boat?
Yeah.
That man has a pimped out tin boat, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a live stream too. I'll jump on there every once in a while, but yeah, I've watched his videos and it's a nice looking tin rig. It's cool. You can do so much with an aluminum boat. Like the rigs that we got, we basically stripped them out for the most part. Well, mine already had a front deck in it. Jonathan built his front deck, and but you can make them. You can make them into a little bass boat. It's pretty awesome, man.
I got more storage than I know what to do with.
Dude, so when I did the first boat I ever bought on my own, I paid $500 for, and it was seriously a 77 John boat. It had like a 77 Evinrude or Johnson on it or something. And it was like, it was garbage, dude. Like it had blue carpet. It was rusting and molding. It was in some dude's backyard. And my really good friend and kind of a mentor with flipping in that, he had done a John boat years before. And he showed me how to build a deck out of PVC pipe versus doing like 2x4s. So basically you make a frame for the front deck using PVC, like you make like a square or a rectangle, and then you actually lay the plywood over that and you use pipe, what do you call it? Pipe, you know, like the little
hangers.
Say it again.
Pipe hangers.
Pipe hangers, exactly. Yeah, and then you'd screw the deck up into that, dude. And I had a big old like lifty door, dude. I had all this storage under there. You could put all these boxes. It was a badass little rig, dude.
Yeah, the wood would be easy, but everything on ours, both of ours, is all aluminum.
Really? So you guys
just the weight.
All the decking. Well, weight when it rains, especially because all that wood's going to do is soak up the water. Longevity, and weight for getting around the lake. So we do fish some tournaments. There's a pretty good little tournament scene on the lake that we fish. I mean, probably 6 tournaments a week in season, between Wednesday nighters, you know, and Saturday, Sunday derbies, stuff like that.
But you want your boat to go 22 and not 21.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
That's the difference in
running a cooler live well kind of thing.
I do, and he's got a built-in live well. So.
Okay, because that's what I used to do too. I bought one of them like 50-gallon coolers, dude, and then you just put a bubbler on it and all that. Dude. It works really good. You got to be careful because sometimes that bubbler gets clogged up. But dude, you get like a giant live well, dude.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, it's
actually
insulated. It's insulated.
So
it's a cooler.
Yeah,
right. Here's a question from Bass Fishing Full. He says he's going to move to Florida. Where's a good general location to live in?
You know, that's a really tough call. It's interesting because back in the day, like I lived in Fort Lauderdale and we had 2 places to fish. It was you either go to Okeechobee or you go to Holiday Park, aka the Everglades. And I thought that was awesome. But as I expanded my purview, like I learned about like Central Florida, the deep lakes I fish in like Highlands County, Sebring area. I dabbled up to Kissimmee, which is even a little further north of there. There's a lot of awesome fishing in Florida. It really depends on what you're interested in and what your goals are. Right now, if I were to be 100% honest, probably the hottest area in Florida has to be probably like Kissimmee area, the Kissimmee chain or the Harris chain. The Harris chain actually, say 10, 12 years ago was like a crap hole, dude. But in the past like 4 or 5 years, you guys have probably seen on the tournament scene, it has popped, dude, popped. And there's a bunch of cool like little lakes around there too. There's a lot of cool places to live. If you want a little cooler weather, stay like North Central Florida. It still gets hot during the summer, but it's kind of cool. A lot of different kinds of lakes. A little bit more like normal fishing. There's some impoundments. There's some timber, more river fishing. If you want true Florida, probably from Lake Kissimmee down south to Okeechobee and that. It's a little more bigger water fishing than most guys are used to, unless you fish Great Lakes and stuff like that. But you really can't go wrong, dude.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching. Don't move to Miami. I was watching this Netflix documentary called Cocaine Kings, and dude, it was wild back then. It was from Miami. It was
Miami's fun though, dude. Everybody gives like a bad hand to Miami, but Miami and like Florida, like that's where I spent a lot of years, and it's fun. Okay. You gotta like that metro scene. Like, I mean, it's city, like so it's a little bit different. But dude, it's an hour and 15, hour and a half from Okeechobee, so you can literally be on the beach, partying, having a good time, and jump on the freeway and be up to Lake Okeechobee in an hour and a half.
There you go. Let's see.
And you don't have to worry about snow.
Yes, no snow. We even had snow here in Alabama, dude. It friggin' snowed a couple times this year.
See, I always told my wife I want to move somewhere where I never see a snowflake again. So
I don't mind snow.
I hate cold weather. So
yeah, it doesn't bother me too much. I just don't like it when the lakes freeze. That's what bothers me.
That's my biggest thing. If you can't do what you want to do, that's one thing. Because the snow we get in Alabama is like cutie snow. It's like, oh look, it's snowing, and then it's gone in 4 hours. Like, I can handle that kind of stuff.
And then you got the 2-gallon freak out where everybody has to go to the store and buy 3 gallons.
Yeah, and 28 rolls of toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that happens here. Well, hell, I'm in the same boat though, because I have a 2-wheel drive rear-wheel truck. So like, I was telling the girl, because she's got a little Honda, and like, I'm like, your car is safer than my truck when it gets icy, dude. So
right.
You need to be on more small water charters videos.
I ran into him when I was down there. You caught me sleeping in the truck when I was having a film JT down there. I was taking a little snooze. I wasn't even asleep. I was, that state of being where you're like half there and half gone, and then like all of a sudden somebody comes up, I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
I bought a bunch of those launch frogs after watching that video.
Dude, those launch frogs are sweet.
Yeah,
they walk really nice. It's a little bigger profile, but I wish they made kind of like a micro, like maybe not a micro, but just like a downsized one, maybe just a hair smaller than I always call them coppers because that's what they used to be, but a live target, a little smaller than a live target.
Yeah. Well, the thing that you got to watch about those is, the hook's really exposed high off the back. So you got to I'd cast it out and I'd kind of thumb it before it hit the mat and make it flip over. So it lands like belly down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause if it lands upside down, you're catching grass for sure.
Yeah.
But your hookup ratio is most excellent on it.
Yeah.
And that plastic's super pliable too.
Yeah. It's a
but it's soft though.
That's what I mean. It's super soft.
Super soft.
Yeah.
How often does Bog get hooked? Dave wants to know.
He has been hooked, really hooked. He's been hooked once. And you know what's stupid is it wasn't even a fish. Like I shot a jerkbait video when I was down on Toho this year, and I thought he was going to get hooked because these fish were like, like a jerkbait's horrible. Like everybody gets hooked. The fish, like the net, it's like, I don't know how they get off of that thing, but I thought he was going to get hooked during that because these fish were like green, dude, and I'd get him in the boat. They're all over. He's sticking his nose in there, and he's got 3 chances, right? Because there's 3 trebles on there. But the only time he's ever been hooked, it was the dumbest thing. So it's freezing cold in Alabama, and I'm on Smith Lake, which is like, it's a decent spotted bass lake, not big ones, but it's cool. It's different. It's like a highland impoundment that we have down here. And run back in this pocket, and he was being really good. I try to incentivize his behavior with treats, and it kind of works sometimes, it kind of doesn't. But I brought some treats along, and so he's on the front of the deck. I came off pad, and he usually sits down with me, like down in the captain's seat and that. And I come off pad, he's up on the front of the deck, looking around, checking things out. And I'm like, cool, great opportunity. Like, he listened, he was down with me, and now he's up on the deck. Here's a treat, but you got to earn it. You got to sit down. So I should say my dumbass, but his dumbass sits down, and I had a freaking Sonic side square bill, a little flat-sided square bill under, like, in my rod stacks, and he must have sat down just right and freaking sat on it. And I didn't notice. So, like, he sits, he does his good behavior. I'm like, all right, come get your treat. Well, dude, freaking he comes towards me, and 5 rods come pushing towards me.
Man.
I'm like, dude, stop. And that's one thing he's really good about is he doesn't listen very well. I'll be perfectly honest, especially when it comes to interacting with people. He always wants to meet people and do stuff. But when he sees that look on my face, like, hey, dude, there's a problem, he's good at just kind of doing the freeze. So he freezes, dude, and I walk up there. Well, this Joker's got it, dude. It's right. He's got his balls cut off, but it's like right next to where they used to be, and it's like in there. And I'm like freaking 7 miles from the boat ramp, you know, going, I'm not taking this dog to the vet. So he's super chill, and pits have a real high pain tolerance. I had a red nose before him, and so I don't want to hurt him, obviously, but I'm also aware of his physiology, I guess you could say. So I kind of looked at it in that it's a smaller hook because it's on a square bill and that. So we ended up working it out. It was past the barb, and so I kind of did like, so they have the line trick, but there's also the thumb trick, you know, where you can push skin, you kind of ply the skin upward to pop it out. And so I was able to kind of work it out gradually, and it was in kind of like a meaty part of his leg, so I wasn't super worried about it. And dude, when we got done, like, he was like wagging his tail, acting like nothing happened. So that's probably the closest disaster that we've had.
Was there anybody watching you do this? Because they're probably like, that guy's got a really interesting relationship with his dog. They're really tight.
I have no idea, because there's houses everywhere. I'm like digging in his ass.
Yeah. You see like 3 boats get up on pad, just leave the whole
area. Right? Like, he's got something going on, dude.
Yeah, put it on the trailer, man. We've seen enough.
Oh man.
Here's a question from Phil. He said he's going to Istapoga in 2 weeks. Any suggestions for other lakes in the vicinity?
Istapoga, Lake June, Lake Placid, Lake Huntley, Lake Jackson.
Options.
There's, what the hell's that other one called? Tulane, Lotila. There's a million. That's the cool thing about that area around Istapoga. Like, literally north. So from Istapoga north, that's basically the south center of the state. There's a main highway that runs through the center of the state called 27. And from Istapoga north, there are a million lakes, dude. You can drive 2 hours, and there are lakes on the right and left. Not very big ones, but there's some awesome ones mixed in. And there's a bunch of different kinds, too. There's anything from, like, the brown classic Florida tannic water to green clear water to gin clear water. There's such a mix of options there. It's a fun area to fish.
PB question. What's your PB on largemouth and smallmouth?
I think so the PB is definitely, I caught a 13, not this year, but the 2021. It was 13.4, I think. It was a low 13. I don't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, dude, it was stupid. That's, and I should have had 50 pounds, dude. I had them. I found them. I did not execute. And it's because it was literally the first day I got to Florida. It was blowing 30 miles an hour. I found nothing. I idled for 4 hours, and one of the first places I idled, I marked 3 big ones, and I'm like, whatever, dude, 3 big ones. I want like 20 of them lined up in a row. So I idled and idled and idled, and I found like 4 dinks, dude. So I'm like, all right, I'll go back and look at these fish. So I go back, I cast a net at them into the wind, just ripping, dude. Freaking, I think it bumped me once, but then it didn't catch nothing. So I'm like, whatever, dude. A lot of times and it was cold, it was probably 45, 50 degrees. And the water temps for us in Florida, like mid to lower 60s is actually pretty cold water temps. So the water temp was cool. A lot of times when it gets like that, it's more like a winter state up north, where you need a reactive or a hard bait to kind of throw to them. So I went up, and one of the things that I do is I actually backcast the fish in the wind. Some of the biggest fish I've ever caught have all been when it's ripping wind, but it's really hard to throw a big crankbait like a 10XD into the wind and get that long cast to get it down. And dude, literally, like I think the first cast I made, I caught like a 9-8. I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome.
Wow.
So I made another cast. I lost one well over 9. And I'm like, dude, I found him. And I'm just literally first day down there dicking around trying to find fish. I pick up a swim bait. I caught another 9 and change. And then I think I caught an 8. And then I lost another freaking monster. And then I caught the 13. And then I think I might have caught like a 5 after that. But dude, I lost 2 freaking mondos, and with that 13, it's amazing how quick, like, you catch 2 9s and you're like, man, you need a 10-pound average to hit 50. Well, with that, the 2 9s and the 13,
Yeah,
I'm plus a pound on each, plus an extra pound. So all I got to do is catch another 9, dude. And like,
That just sounds so
Yeah.
simple. Just catch another 9.
Well, but dude, when you find them like that, like,
yeah.
they're just and it's a pre-spawn staging thing, like there's no other time of the year that's going to happen. Like it's a window, and dude, I've been doing it for so many years now. Like, I recognize it. I missed an opportunity because I was lackadaisical, and I just, like, it was stupid, dude. But it just pisses me off, because the one thing I want to do, and the one thing I am going to do before I freaking kick the bucket, is I'm catching 50 pounds. I know that's not like Milliken 64 or whatever, but I don't care. I want to catch 50.
That's like ultra respectable 50-pound 5 fish. But like you said, man, it's like you were looking at it and it doesn't happen that often.
Like, that's the thing. It's not an unrealizable goal, but it's kind of like what we were talking about with the techniques, though. Like, sometimes you can pick a few techniques to learn, and maybe the weather, the situations, the water conditions for the next 6 months, they really don't set up for it. Like, it's a window thing. So you got to be smart enough to recognize an opportunity when it's knocking at your door, So, like, I'm not saying it's going to happen next year. I'm not going to say it's going to happen the following year. But what I am saying is that when the stars align, I'm not just going to be freaking dangle dicking my deal. I'm going to be like on it, trying to execute and make it happen, because the opportunity is there, and I waited that long to try to get it.
We got a couple questions here. KMG Outdoors says, do you all record every time you go out and fish? I do, man. I take the cameras with me every single time, and I set them up. I mean, sometimes when, like, if it's going to be raining really heavy, may not put a chesty on, but I always got a pole cam up, because I got this, it's like a silicone putty stuff that, you can kind of waterproof your back camera. And I do the same with my chesty sometimes, but I usually have my if I have to put my raincoat, over my chesty, it's not going to be rolling. I mean, I've done a few videos when I was catching them pretty good and it was raining, and I put it on, outside of my raincoat, but I always take it with me, and I'm always recording, because you just never know what's going to happen. You just never know. There's so many times before I had this channel where I think about days where, like some of those days on Cedar where we'd catch like 26, 27, 28-pound bag, and that was like before I had the channel, and fishing was a little bit better back then. I mean, if I was doing it back then, I'd have just a few more good, juicy videos. But yeah, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, you can, like New Year's Day 2 years ago or last year, I caught like a 48-inch muskie on a jerkbait. And it was cold, it was miserable. But if I wouldn't have had the camera on, I would have had a picture, but I got the actual video of the whole thing going down. It's like a PB fish. I've caught like some 20+ pound stripers, had the camera in the boat too. You never, once you capture that in it, or once that happens and you don't have the stuff rolling, it's done. You're not going to capture it. It's over with. I mean, you get a picture, but there's something about video that's that much better.
I had that tournament last year with my brother, and I'm just getting into all this crazy madness of filming and just trying to document everything. And I was like, this is like the probably fifth or sixth trip that I've had with my cameras. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to mess with it. Tournament. I don't even want to fight with it. And we go out there and just wreck them. It's like, damn it. Why did I not bring them? So,
yeah. You're rolling all the time, right, Mikey?
I roll all the time, because I suck more than I stand out. So I try to get everything. And I've had the same experience where even if it's not a fish, dumb shit happens to me. And, so, if you're going to do some of the social media stuff, like I try to be, I don't know, straight up with stuff. Like I don't think too highly of myself. So if I fall in the water, which I got on video, if some dumb thing, if I hook myself, I get it on video and it's fun. Yeah, it's fun to have those memories and those moments. The other thing too is I do maybe look back at some of the footage. So say for instance, even if I went out and I caught like 20 dinks and maybe it's not a video, maybe it is though a good example of how I use a certain technique. So maybe I'll go back and pull some of those clips and use them for something like that. But it's also something where I go back, I keep all my stuff organized by lake, month and year. And so I can go back right now and look at all my stuff for Guntersville in January from 2020. And I use that as kind of a fishing log to sort of learn about what was happening then. And even just little nuances stuff, when you're flipping, say, for instance, was I just flipping in there and getting donked? Was I flipping in there, pumping it 7 times? Did you bite on the 8th time? I try to learn kind of stuff like that. But when I first started doing it, there wasn't such a necessity, or there was more of a necessity because there wasn't so much content out there. So really all you had that was like honest and direct is your own stuff. But now I find a lot of like the live Bassmaster, live MLF, and then a lot of the other YouTube channels, it's kind of cool because there's so much more content that's unfiltered, I guess. So you can kind of tap into that and watch that and get some of that same learning experience.
I had a really cool clip that I captured on my chest cam. It was this year. I got hung. I was flipping or actually casting a jig, and I got hung up on a rock, and I'm popping it, can't get it off. So I go in tight on it. I'm right above it, and I'm popping, and I get it up, and when I reel it in, there's a bluegill. The jig is like through the top of the bluegill's lip. And it's like literally it looks like a jig trailer, like a jig trailer. And I'm like, how in the hell did that happen? So I guess the bluegill, you know how they like to dart under rocks when they grab your stuff. I guess that happened. I didn't feel the bite, and he was already under the rock. And that was a really cool opening to a video. That whole little scene right there. It was like an intro.
Yeah, because it's all about the experience. Like it's one of the reasons I started filming the fishing stuff is because rendering that experience, I think it's super cool. It's lame, like in the end, like fishing, like from an outward perspective, is kind of lame. Like you're going to go sit on a boat or sit on the bank all day and you're going to cast for some fish that swims. Like it comes across as kind of lame, but like I think it's such a cool experience, whether it's the lake and like the sun rising or like, I don't know, like running the boat around. There's so many cool different aspects to that experience that it's fun to capture, even if I don't end up sharing it on YouTube and that. Like, I can't tell you how many times I looked at like some B-roll that I shot where it was like super foggy and I'm running the boat through the fog or something. I'm like, dude, that is so cool. And that literally is what we did. Like, that's the experience we had, and I can kind of relive that. And I don't know, it never gets old, dude.
Good stuff. Got a question here. Gary says he films every time he's not eating.
I didn't have a question, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, there was a question up here from Big Mike, I think, and it's what was that at? Something about a shaky head. So I guess here it is. Yeah. My question is, they say that a shaky head is a co-angler's best friend, but if everyone is using them, what would you throw? So like if you're in an area and you see a lot of people throwing a certain bait, well, let's just say shaky head, what's some adjustments you're gonna make besides a shaky head?
I mean, I'm not, how do I put it, if everybody's throwing it, I'm not afraid to be like everybody else. Like one example, in Florida, like we always talk about a swimming worm. A swimming worm is like the co-angler's like golden ticket, dude. It always catches them. You think they've seen it too many times, but it'll always catch 10 pounds 90% of the time. So like I'm not super crazy with like changing things up too much, especially from a co-angler perspective. Because really, I haven't fished much of the co-angler. I did way back in the day when I was in this club, because I didn't have a boat, I didn't have a truck or a car or anything. I had a little scooter because I was at UF. But really, I look at it more as, what bait can I throw that either one, cleans up after my boater, or two, hits stuff that my boater isn't hitting. Because it's not so much fishing, in my opinion, as a co-angler, you're not so much fishing against other people, you're fishing against your boater. Not literally or directly, but because of the context that you're in. So if you're fishing like a grass flat and your boater's flipping mats, well, I'm going to pick up a stick bait and pitch it to the edge, or pitch it in holes, or throw a frog over the top, you know? So like doing something a little different from whoever's in the front, I think, is almost more important than tweaking your presentation based upon the rest of the crowd. Because the rest of the crowd's throwing that because it probably works, dude, and they got bid on it, you know? But I guess quick answer, probably a Ned. You know, you can put it in a lot of the same places, and it's a little stubbier, a little smaller kind of thing.
I kind of think it's like, how much confidence and how much experience do you have fishing a certain technique? Because like I've got a lot of time with a shaky head personally, and I feel pretty confident with it, that I feel confident enough that if it's the guy in the front of the boat is throwing a shaky head, I think I can still catch some fish behind him with it. And I will definitely change the bait up. Like if he's throwing, you know, maybe a worm, I'll put like a speed crawl in there, or maybe a baby brush hog or something a little bit different profile, maybe a little color change. If he's throwing black, I'll throw like a green pumpkin based on the watercolor. But I think a lot of it is if you're just casting and he's not like picking, you know, if he's flipping like a Texas rig or a jig up tight in like cover, like in bushes, he's picking it apart. Yeah, by the time you get there, you know, he's already got all the aggressive fish. You might as well not even be fishing there. You might as well be fishing out of the other side of the boat for other kinds of fish. But if you're just like going down a bank and you're like 30, 40 feet off the bank and you're just casting and dragging a shaky head, I mean, I'll go toe to toe with him with a shaky head, just because I have that much confidence in that, and, you know, and other baits too. So I think a lot of it is what is he throwing and how much experience do you have with that bait? Is that like your jam? Is that in your wheelhouse and that's what you feel really confident with? Then go with it, man. Cause you know, a lot of times, I mean, that's like a technique. You can tell somebody I'm catching them on a bladed jig or a chatterbait, and I'm catching them in this creek. Well, some people can go and make it happen. Other people can't, because there's probably a little nuance or something that you're doing. Everybody fishes like a bait a little bit different. And sometimes whatever you're doing that's getting those bites, maybe somebody else isn't doing it. So they can have the same bait, the same color, same trailer, but maybe they're not snapping it out of the grass just right, or maybe they're reeling it too fast. It's too high up in the water column. So you can still go behind somebody with the same bait and catch fish.
You know, it's something kind of interesting. You guys know JT Kenny, right?
Yeah, not personally, but yeah, sure.
You know, so I film a lot of JT stuff, you know, for his social media and that. And me and him are good buddies. And one of the cool things about filming him is I get to watch him fish, you know. So obviously, you know, like tournament kind of credit and all that. He's fished all over the place. One thing that I've always found interesting about the way JT fishes is that we'll be out there and say he's throwing a jig like you're talking about. Well, but there's certain points where, you know, I'm behind the camera, I'm like filming him, and like in my little like voice in my head is like, dude, JT, put the freaking jig down, dude. It's enough. Like you threw it freaking all these times. And then all of a sudden, instead of freaking dragging it, he'll do 3 pops and then throw slack line to the jig. And then freaking before and like I'm still in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, like try something else. We're not getting bit. And then he'll do like a little swim deal, kind of like a hair jig or something. So the gist of it is, though, it's amazing how those little nuances, like you're talking about, take one presentation and make it a different one. And in watching him fish, flipping's a great example. Like in the end, brass tacks, flipping is drop it in there, let it go down, and pull it out and do it again. Well, you know, you can pop that thing, you can go a little deeper, you can there's a million things you can do. And really in filming him, I noticed all the different ways these guys like approach one thing, but make it multiple other things before they'll go ahead and like set it down and say, this isn't working, or I need to move on to a totally different style of bait. Because, you know, the slightest difference, you're talking about a shaky head. dude, freaking swimming a shaky head is killer. Like absolutely killer. Swimming a net, like super kind of subtle little deal, and it whacks them. Like those little things take like this drag bait that's just your same old, and make it a totally different presentation. So that's something to kind of keep in mind too. Sometimes it's not really about changing bait, but changing the way you're presenting it.
That's a good. Okay, so check this out. I got a video coming out. I don't know when. I haven't even started out on it. I got some editing to do, but I've been fishing for some reason. I was talking to my buddy Ron about this. Like when I used to catch fish really good on a shaky head, I was always like light, like 8-pound test in the wind. This time of the year right now, when the water's like 38, 39, the bite gets really, really tough. If the fish aren't up off the bottom, you know, kind of the jerkbait deal's over with, and you can slow roll an A-rig, but there's sometimes when they want something really small. And I've been kind of struggling the last 2 times with the shaky head, something I got confidence in. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, why can't I not catch fish on this like I used to be able to? Well, I bumped up to 12-pound test because when I was up in Mille Lacs, we were catching those big smallmouth, and they had no problem, you know, eating a Ned or a drop shot on 12-pound test. And for some reason, I'm like, okay, 12-pound test, I don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna just stay with it. The water's super clear. But I just wasn't getting the bites. So I was thinking about it the other day. I was driving home from the lake. And I'm like, you know, I used to always catch fish with 8-pound tests, and I'd go with like an 1/8 ounce jig head. And I've been throwing like a 1/4 ounce heavier. So the other day, I'm like, okay, before I went to the lake, I cut off my leader and I put on some fresh 8-pound. I tied the 1/8 ounce shaky head on there, and I caught several fish in like 37-degree water yesterday. And so it's kind of like back to the same bait. It's also the weight. And the thing is I think that light shaky head on the 8-pound test, it falls slower, obviously. And that's another cool thing about the live scope is I could see how that thing was kind of spiraling. Cause I was putting a little fish doctor on there, and it's like a little centipede. It's got a flat side and it's got a round side. But if you put the flat side down, it really glides. Yeah. And so it was slow on the fall. And then when it got to the bottom, with it being so light, you can pick it up and it kind of glides. Yeah. With a heavier weight, it kind of digs more. But if you got a lightweight, it kind of does this. And I think that's the difference in catching fish and not catching fish sometimes. You know, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes they're chomping and it doesn't matter. But there's other times where they're real negative or they're real finicky, and like just a little stupid little thing like that can, you know, make the difference between catching 0 fish and 20 fish. So,
agreed.
Yeah.
This Bog jumps out.
Yes, Bog is the most sociable pit bull, dude. And it's terrible too, because people like, you know, like postmen or like just people who aren't exactly big dog people. I try to like keep them in check when I'm at a boat ramp. But every once in a while, that joker sneaks out the door because I'm like rigging up the boat to drop in, and I'll accidentally leave a door open. I go and look in the truck, and there's no dog, dude. And he's like 150 yards that way, like chasing some woman around, dude. I'm just like, oh my God, I look like such an ass.
Does he ever get in anybody else's truck and eat snacks?
Yes, he tried to leave with these people. So back when I lived in Fort Myers, they pick these berries in the palm, like I don't even know what it's called, but like the palm swamps and that. And these berries are like worth a lot of money. So the Haitian guys and freaking just about anybody, but a lot of the Haitian people go and pick them, and they'll go park on the end of a dead end road where there's these big empty lots with these palm things. And dude, that joker, I let him outside to go to the bathroom, dude, and he didn't come back. And I got there and look, and he's sitting in the freaking car with these people freaking in their seat, just like hanging out. I'm like, dude, I feed you. Like, what's your problem, dude?
It's great.
My buddy tells a story about that. He had we're big waterfowl. I'm a big waterfowl hunter. So he was getting ready in the morning, and he was hunting with the game warden, crazy enough, but the game warden's dog jumped in his front truck, and they're all still getting ready, not even thinking about it. And he goes, the guy he was hunting with the game warden, he's like, "Hope we don't have any food in there." And he's like, "What?" And he looked in the front seat, and he's just munching on a bag of peanut M&Ms. I mean, they're just gone. There's one left. I was like, are you serious?
Yep.
It's like a black bear, man. Yeah, we were talking about that the other night. Like sometimes we go up in the mountains, and it'd be like 2 or 3 in the morning. You hear this like hellacious racket outside, and those blackbirds come down out of the hills and you
Yep.
start raiding your trash cans. It's craziness. So let's run through some of these techniques here before we get too deep into this. I was wanting to get your opinion on like punching and stuff. So, one of the things that I always wonder, or people out there may be wondering as well, is like, okay, you got matted grass, you got a frog, or you got a punch rig. How do you make the decision between throwing something on the top versus getting down and dirty inside the mat?
I'd say the biggest thing that at least I personally think about is like what kind of grass it is. Overall, my experience has been if you have hydrilla that's matted up, you can catch some fish on a frog out of it, especially if there's like holes and stuff like that. But overall, your hookup ratio and actually calling those fish out of the hydrilla, it just doesn't happen with a frog. So like with hydrilla, I'm definitely picking up that punch rig. Milfoil is kind of the transitional one. If it's cheesed out, you have goo, it's hollowed out on the underside, that's when that frog comes into play, but it has to be set up just right. If it's fresh, thick, new milfoil, maybe along the edges and stuff like that. So it really depends on how that vegetation is set up. That I kind of decipher it. The other thing that kind of plays a role, at least for me, is once again coming back to how it's set up. But basically, if you have good hard lines, defined sort of mats, whether it's because there's a channel there, whether it's because that grass grew up in a dome for some reason, that usually means that there's a pretty good canopy, meaning that there's a roof, but there's nothing else under it. And that's usually what I look for that punching type of stuff, fresh growing vegetation that's sort of bowled over itself or domed out. Whereas if you have sparsy, strandy stuff, maybe you don't get that good, hard to find edge on that grass. That's when I kind of look at a frog, because there's a lot more ambush areas through the top and around versus when you have that canopy. With the canopy, those fish are under there and in there, and they're looking around within that. Yes, they're kind of looking up because things punch through, but really, if it's that thick, they're really not getting a good look at the bait unless you go down through to them. Whereas if you have that strandier, more sparse stuff, even if it's laid out in a giant flat, it's a lot easier to cover with a frog. And I think you can always go back and flip some of that stuff if you run across like a chunk that's grown up really well. But that frog just helps you to cover water better and gives you a lot more opportunities.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Like punching is so tedious; it takes a long time. It's if you can get them to come up through the stuff. We throw a toad a lot because you can really cover water with the toad, versus a frog. You can just buzz down the bank and throw in those mats, and just if you get a few blowups in a little stretch, then maybe you can go back and kind of pick it apart with your punch rig. So that's so do you like to go like heavy, or do you go as light as possible to get through the mat with it?
That's a big bunch of bullshit. All those guys always talk about like going light. The only time you go light is or think about lightness, I think, is when you're pitching bushes or pitching like emergent cover that has openings, because then it's about the fall. When you're actually punching through, it's all about the reaction, dude. So like you want a clean drop, dude. You want it to go through, because the more times you get through, it's a game of statistics. The more times you get through, the more likely you are to get a bite. Because for the most part, I love when they're on what I call like a dangle dick bite, where you kind of got to pump for them or like dangle it just under the mat. That's a lot of fun. But 9 times out of 10, everything's coming on the drop, dude. And it's that reaction. It's high power fishing. And if you get that clean fall, it just makes it that much easier to come back through, make another drop. And I've also found too, especially when it gets super cold, like in Florida, you can drop on, say you got like a TV sized mat, like a 50-inch TV sized mat. It's this big square. Well, you drop on the corner of it, you drop in the middle, and you drop on the other corner, right? I was amazed at when it gets so cold, literally dropping in between the corner and the middle can make that much of a difference, like putting it in front of their face. So if I'm able to get through that mat clean and quick and make that corner drop and then make a drop in between the middle and there. You know, just being more fluid and efficient. So you're still like power fishing, even though these fish are in a negative mood, but I'm able to quickly kind of present to more places, more cleanly, and just faster overall. I think that's really important because it is, in the end, it's a reaction bite, dude.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So you got a are you fit? What size braid do you use? 50 pound or 65?
So that depends. I've been playing around with that. Interestingly enough, I don't catch as big a fish up here, like on Guntersville and stuff like that. But the hydrilla is so thick that I've gone up to 80.
Really?
Yeah, and
Wow.
it's not like so much. I broke 65 up here, but it's not so much like a breaking thing. It's more of a sawing kind of, like they're all caked up, because basically a lot of the fish that I catch shallow fish when I'm punching up here, but some of the best punching is like midsummer, and it's like 5 to 8, 4 to 8 foot depth. So what ends up happening is those fish are maybe like 2 foot, foot and a half under the surface, but they're in this giant thick like hydrilla. So you hook them and you end up getting like a 5-pound fish and about 10 pounds of grass. And like that 80 pound just seems to saw through stuff a little bit better. And then you're not as like spooked if you gotta like, do you guys do like the straight pull on braid?
Yeah,
So
right.
a lot of guys make the mistake. So they'll pin a fish, right? And it's on there, it's stopped, it's stuck under there. And a lot of guys will sit there and reel, and they'll use their rod like they're grouper fishing, and they'll pull, and the rod bends, and that is the worst thing you can ever do. The best way to get a fish out like that, other than digging in there and trying to get them out, is actually literally to point your rod tip directly, never lose tension, right? So you reel down, point your rod directly at that fish, and you pull directly. Now, do not sue me if you fry your reel, because it can happen. But I don't know exactly what happens, but that direct pull on those fish, it allows them to kind of squeeze through like the sleeve or like the openings that are in the grass on the side versus trying to draw them out of the top.
Yeah.
But it puts a huge amount of tension on the line, because all of that tension is really just bearing down on the line. And that's how I broke 65, is trying to get them out, and you pull directly on them. And if you have one little slight nick or something, it'll just pop. So that's when I do the 80. However, if I'm flipping emergent vegetation that's matted, hyacinth, pennywort, things along those lines, even junk mats sometimes, as long as there isn't wood around, I do like that 65. It's a little more manageable. You can make a longer pitch. A lot of times with that floating vegetation, you'll get like a little circle of it that could be 10, 15 foot wide, and deep as well. And everybody's going to pitch the edge, right? Well, sometimes I want to go way back there. That 65, even though it isn't that much of a difference between diameter of the 80, it's a lot easier to slang that thing quite a ways versus the 80. So I will do it in that context. And I just find that with the emergent stuff, and this is, you guys were talking about junk mats before. I usually flip 80 with junk mats, because junk mats, literally, you don't know what's in there. It can be logs, it can be all kinds of garbage, dude, and you need as heavy line as possible. But with that floating vegetation, all you have is that crap at the top. So it's not like you're dragging in 40 pounds of hydrilla and all that kind of stuff. Literally, if you can pin them, you can kind of get back in there and push that stuff away and go grab that fish, or they'll pop out like a little seam in there. So it's not nearly as worrisome, but 65 to 80 really when it comes to mats.
Gotcha. Does that comment make any sense right there?
It does not, actually. I was reading that in the comment box. I'm like,
I was keeping it up there so you could soak on it for a minute, but
yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll probably wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, but
yeah. Maybe you're trying to forget about it too.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah.
I don't remember Gay Dave's though. We had a trampoline when I was a kid, I think. But I don't know.
No drunk Dave though.
Wasn't it Gay Dave or Drunk Dave?
Gay Dave. I don't know. Ringing any bells?
Kenny, story of Kenny drunk on the trampoline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
know. Because actually, I never got on. I broke my arm on a trampoline when I was like a little kid, and then I never got on a trampoline after that.
Yeah, we've got one in the back, and it's got a safety net on it. It's got all the pads. Back when I just
did a half front flip, dude, and I didn't finish tucking and like bring it on through, and I landed like this, dude, and my arm broke in half. It was pretty beautiful. Yeah.
My kids want one, but I told them no. So.
No, dude, freaking that's an insurance bill waiting to happen.
Well, it's not the falling off. I had it didn't happen to me, but one of the neighbor kids, we were jumping on a trampoline, and he like came down and lost his legs. You know, you just like fold your legs under. Well, he was limber enough that he ate it with his knees and his 2 front teeth, and just. And they were his adult teeth at the time, so they just busted them right out.
Oh man!
So he had no 2 front teeth for quite a while.
He's on his way, buy a trailer and freaking get after it. Right?
Yeah, man. Right.
He's a legendary bass angler now, but
chicklets, man. What about snelling? Do you snell?
Yeah, definitely I snell. Yeah,
snell straight shank.
Straight shank, yeah, and I run that hack attack, that striking hack. Everybody freaking makes fun of me for it, but at the same time, so my buddies down in Florida, I got a couple buddies that I fish with, and they always make fun of me for running that hack attack, and then that we'll lose that subject, and then they'll be like, "Yeah, I'm having all these problems with my hook. I don't think I'm using the right hook." And it's like, dude, what? Like,
trying to tell you, man, you're not listening to me.
Well, they have their own. They keep trying to find the perfect hook, and like it's like anything else, dude. There is no perfection. There's just like this works decent and closes the deal like 90% of the time. Like nothing's perfect, dude.
Yeah. So what
are
you
do though? I'll throw this one out to you. I don't know if you guys do it. Double bobber stoppers. Do you guys do that?
Yeah.
That's huge. That changed my game, dude, because they burn off like midday, like one will burn off, and you got to literally cut the thing off, re-snell, it's the biggest headache. You run double bobber stoppers, dude, you'll never retie your punch rig again, dude.
So where do you with the snell? This intrigues me. With the cam action, what's your theory on what's going on inside of the bass's mouth when he grabs it? I mean, I know there's the cam action, but it seems like if that hook is laying, it has to be laying. It seems like it has to be laying just right to actually hit the roof of the mouth. Maybe I'm thinking about it all wrong. But do you hook fish most often in like the top of the mouth, the bottom of the mouth, or I mean, is there any kind of pattern to that, or do you notice anything like that?
It depends how they eat it. So
yeah,
on the drop, so boom, drop, reel down, set the hook up. Like I'd say 80% of the time they're hooked in the top of the mouth or like on the side, like somewhere up in there. So I think it does work overall. For me, it's just one of those things. Like I use a softer rod for punching, and I still hit them pretty decent. Some of these guys, dude, like I don't know, they like reel down. I don't know. I try to be nice. I know it's not nice to hook the fish and all, but like at the same time, like you don't need to like kill it. Like it's terrible, dude, the way they do it. But in any case, I think with the rod setup that I have and the way I set the hook, it does give me a little. It requires less effort, so I don't have to hit a fish, say, especially if they like grab it and they run and I didn't reel down enough. It doesn't take that much to pop out the hook. But the time that it happens when they're hooked like on the tongue or on the bottom of the mouth, that's all dangle dicking, dude. So I will freaking pitch it in there and whoop, whoop, or I'm just like holding it right under the mat, maybe dropping it an inch every once in a while. That's when they get it in the bottom. And I think that has to do with them maybe either coming up and just pecking at it and grabbing it and turning back down. And then maybe I don't set the hook right away or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, when they're not hooked in the top of the mouth, it's when I'm doing kind of a slower, more methodical, like pumping presentation.
Okay, dangle dicking, man. I like that.
I just like say it's fun to say. If you say it, dude, it's kind of empowering and it'll make you giggle a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little set of words put together. I like.
Don't go around Walmart saying it though. You might come out with the wrong crew, dude. I'll warn you about that.
Exactly, man.
You might come out with a couple guys like us.
That's right, dude.
Yeah, Aaron, he's still looking for the perfect boat. So stay tuned.
I'm searching.
So what about baits?
Inglorious plug there, dude. My Triton will be for sale at some point, though. If anybody's interested, just
there
hit
you
me
go.
A message.
What about okay, so I'm from you got me fishing this thing right here, the burner crawl.
Oh, hell yeah!
Which thanks, man. It's a really good bait. It's a solid bait,
dude.
I like it. But then there's times when it seems like that's the deal right there.
I love that thing.
The little BB cricket.
The
So
dumbest, stupidest bait that you've ever seen in your life.
I know, man, but there's sometimes when they want that little thing. It seems
Have you used that on like a finesse jig and stuff too?
yeah.
It's sweet, dude.
Or you could use it on a shaky head, I guess, or maybe even a Ned or something.
Ned rig, dude. Sometimes the appendages that I know, like everybody's all into appendages and stuff, but one thing with the Ned is like you want it to go down and like get down and fall, like kind of glide. And when you get too many appendages on that Ned, not so much a shaky head, that's a little different, but on that Ned, it makes it a little. It doesn't fall right, in my opinion, because I tried it because I'm like, this might be super sweet. Now, what I haven't done is clipped off the little cylindrical dangles. So maybe I need to try that. But it does too much of a whoop-de-whoop when you leave those appendages on.
Yeah, it's a cool bait. Like you said, it doesn't look like much, but it works. So if you're like so if you're punching, say you're just talk about like making bait adjustments. So when would you go from like something like a burner crawl to a BB cricket or something maybe like a beaver, you know?
It's all seasonal, dude. Like for me, it's all like water temp. So like early season is going to be like a beaver or like what I call like a glide style creature bait that doesn't kick. So like 65 and under, 68. Florida's a whole different ball game because basically you can usually add like 5 degrees to Florida to make it equivalent to like what we're doing, you know. But like 65, 60 and under, you know, like is your straight do nothing baits, you know, either a beaver glide or like the BB cricket, something like that. It's when the water kind of kicks up and the brims start getting in that grass when it gets thick that I think you add those kickers. Or if you want to slow down, so we're talking about like getting through, like do you want to like fall right through? So instead of adjusting weight sizes, I'll adjust bait drag for my fall. So for instance, like if I'm punching something and I'm getting right through with 1.5, which is what I have tied on 90% of the time, and I feel like it's falling too quick, I still want that heavy weight to punch through and get clean. But once that bait actually gets through, I want something to slow it down a little bit on that fall. So that's when I look at that burner crawl or something, because those kickers, for as much as they're doing this, they're also slowing the fall of the bait.
Boggs got a hell of a head shake there.
Oh yeah, dude,
that was impressive, dude.
Ears off.
Yeah,
well, he's all
like one of those...
Why the hell you have me locked in this room, dude?
It's a good dog. Tom says, did you ever throw the Gambler chatterbox while Val was making them? If you did, what did you think of them? No.
But we've run into a few of them at we run these Gambler free tournaments anywhere from Florida to Alabama to Georgia, and every once in a while somebody will pop up with because we do boat checks on them, and somebody will pop up with a chatterbait, and I got to go figure out whether it's the original Gambler chatterbait or not, because there's a few floating around, dude, and they're actually high price point items because everybody wants them for the free tournament, so they buy them off of like eBay and all that.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I guess I didn't know that they had one of those.
I mean, everybody made a chatterbait back then until freaking, Z-Man would find out about it, and then they them. So
yeah, everybody was cutting sheet metal in their basement just to get that blade.
Yeah, now you can't. What is it? You can't just have it.
You can't even think
the blade fixed to.
You can't even think about one anymore without getting something from them.
Yeah. Somebody was asking. I can't remember where that was at. Something about how did you get started in YouTube? I know we're kind of like backtracking a little bit, but was it just something to, like you said, just to go out and capture the moment, or did you have like did you have this plan? Did you know you're
no plan.
Things, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah, no. If I had a plan, I'd have a lot of money right now.
Yeah, right.
No, so I've always been interested in technology, and I've also always been interested in how do I do things that I want to do? Yeah, that's not a good way to put it. How can I mimic things? Yeah, that's not a good way to put it either. I always liked movies and stuff. I always liked video. And so when I started shooting video and stuff was like that transition period when all this consumer level electronics was starting to compare to some of the things that maybe not Hollywood was doing, but it was giving you the ability to sort of mimic, like creating like a skateboard video. Like I could go and get a camera and shoot my own snowboard video, or like do these things. So it was making all this technology more accessible and the ability to create content a lot more accessible via consumer electronics. And I thought that was so cool because I always thought it was bullshit, dude. Like I think we all have like cool things to say and interesting perspectives. And in the end, more perspectives, more views, more stuff, even though it's overwhelming, is better, because in the end things will sort of like come out, like things will sort of, the cream comes to the top, like the good kind of gets sifted through. So I always thought it was super cool when all these cameras came out that were like $300 and I could go shoot like HD content out on the water. And so I'd started doing that many years ago because I was playing around with a video camera. I'm like, it'd be really cool to capture my fish catches, because I hate making fishing journals, even though I know I need to like write it down so I can learn from what I'm doing. And that's kind of what triggered it, dude, is I was just trying to capture a journal of my experiences. And because at the time, you know, it was just when I think I was using like a Sony Handycam. So I still had to run like, you guys probably don't even know what this is, but Firewire. You had to capture the clip off the camera. It was digital, but it was like OG digital, dude. But it was like $150, $200 camera, right? And I could go out and capture all this footage, and it was just as cool as like somebody shooting a fancy Field and Stream video, you know? And so that was neat, and it also gave me the ability to capture that fishing journal that I wanted, that data. And there was so much more information built into a video versus me writing what the water temperature was, what the weather was. And from there, it kind of, I started posting some stuff, because at that time there was no fishing content, you know, like this was Google Video, and then YouTube was bought by Google, so it started going up on YouTube and that, and it was, I sort of just stumbled into it, you know. So I always thought we have a voice, like your podcast,
right.
like, you know, like I was even talking about both of our channels. We're not that big, but in the end, like I like doing this, you like doing this, and I feel like I have something to say. Whether it's of value or people want to watch it, that's their fucking prerogative, you know. Like
Right.
I'm gonna make what I'm gonna make and do what I'm gonna do, and then you kind of see where the dust settles, dude.
Right. I'm with you, man. Hashtag real fishing. Just keeping it real. Man. I love that hashtag, man. That's a good one, dude.
Cody,
it really is.
Cody's got a question. I think we know the answer to this, but mono, fluorocarbon, braid, what kind of leader guy are you and why? I'm guessing, I don't know if he's asking for punching, but I'm guessing you don't put a leader on when you.
I don't put a leader on. I need to play around with that more, though, because these fish are starting to get a little weird to straight braid unless they're in the right kind of zone. And flipping fluoro, straight fluoro is just, it's ungodly, but it does work. I run, so on a spinning rod, I'm assuming this is what it is. I'll run braid to fluoro. That's kind of, you know, it gives what I like to, you were talking about before how you're switching between 12 and 8-pound test.
Yeah.
I like that flexibility as well. So you get the no stretch aspect, you get a lot more sensitivity, especially if you're throwing a spinning rod. You're either throwing lighter baits, which are harder to cast with mono or fluoro directly. You're also, I'm assuming, thinking that the fish are in a more negative mood, or you need to present a smaller presentation. The bites are going to be softer, might just be a hold instead of a tick.
Right.
So I like that braid backing, but then it also gives me the versatility to take a rod and throw an 8-pound leader on versus a 12-pound. And I think there's a world of difference, like you were saying, between 8 and 12. 8 and 10, yeah, there's a difference. But when you're talking like 8 to 12, 12 to 15, world of difference, dude.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. What knot are you tying?
Haha. That's the only knot I know how to tie. I can't tie an FG knot. It's so embarrassing.
I've tried
to tie
it
an FG. What's
one
that?
time. I've tied it once.
Successfully?
Yeah, successfully. It took me like 3 hours, but I tied it once.
So that's my problem. I've had really great teachers. Dude, my buddy Tyler Wilcott, he fishes the pro circuit. Excellent angler. He guides down in Florida. He sat there for an hour trying to teach me how to do it. I never got it once. And then I tried with it. Sometimes it's about the approach, right? So I watched like 4 different YouTube videos, tried it again, failed every single time, dude. And I'm like, I can't do this. I'll come back to it at some point. I think what I tie is I always forget it. I think it's a San Diego.
Nah.
San Diego jam knot.
Nope, that's
San Diego's
knot.
Yeah, that's like a
okay.
Run it through.
All I know is so I'll tell you what knot I tie. I take the fluorocarbon, I make a loop, and then I make 3 wraps, and I pull it like kind of tight, and it makes a figure 8. and then I run my braid through each hole, and then I wrap it just like you would like a uni and cinch it down. It's the fastest, easiest, and reliable. Now, so that's majority of the time I run 8 pounds fluorocarbon and either 10 or 14-pound braid, usually 14. And I've never had an issue. We always break leaders every once in a while. It just happens. But with that setup, I rarely have an issue. Now, I haven't done it with like 20 to 40-pound braid or anything like that. But it's freaking. The thing is too. So the FG, I can't tie it in my garage, much less on a boat. I mean, in the wind blowing. This guy is super easy and it's more reliable than like a double uni. So like I can tie this joker in the wind. It's quick, snap, snap, and I'm good to go.
I think it's whatever you have confidence in and you can tie on the fly. You know,
that's what Nicholas is saying right there.
Even the guys that can tie the FG, they talk about it taking, 45 seconds to a minute to tie it, and they're good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was good at something, good is like 15, 20 seconds tops.
Yeah, I agree there, dude. I'm trying to Google this and figure out what the hell knot I'm tying.
Is it the triple surgeon? Maybe somebody said triple surgeon.
No, it's not the triple surgeon. There's this
that's a fly fishing
video.
It's not the Alberto because that's what we tie, and you got an extra little couple twists going on.
No, it's like a modified uni. Like you do a uni on one side, but then you do that figure 8 deal, and it's nice because the problem with the double uni is that it's a slip oriented knot, so it's based upon like the 2 knots butting up against each other and pulling. Right. So this one's an integrated knot where you have the uni aspect, so it's a pressure built knot, so it is based on that, but you've actually weaved that braid through your fluorocarbon or monofilament leader, so it's integrated. Not that does a hell of a lot. I mean, when it pops, like
that sounded very technical. That you knew exactly how this knot works and all the intricacies of it. But
then you're mistaken, my friend, because I don't know damn. Just winging it day by day, dude.
Hey man, being from Florida, they got something called a skunk ape that runs around there. It's also known as like a Sasquatch. You ever have any Sasquatch sightings, or do you know any stories? Have you heard any rumors, or does your crazy uncle see one or anything like that?
No, I can't say I have, dude. I can't say I have. The one thing I was always worried about is where I used to live in Fort Myers. They had those freaking panthers, dude.
Oh yeah.
And so like they would roam around. And I was worried about. I lived at a dead end of a road, and I'd let the dog out to go to the bathroom. I always thought one day he wouldn't show up again because the damn panther got him.
Well, check this out. We had a hawk. Like my wife called me at work. This is like 3 months ago. So we got a little, it's a schnoodle. It's like a 13-pound little dog, and it was actually probably 10 pounds then because we haven't really taken it for as many walks as we need to. So it's put on some like COVID weight or winter weight or whatever you want to call it. But she called me. She's like, "You never guess what happened?" And I'm like, "What?" So we have a kitchen, and then we got a back deck, and then we go downstairs, and there's the yard there. So we just open the door, let the dog go out and do its business. She said she let the dog go out. It went down, and as it was coming back up the steps, it was trying to get in the door, and so she heard it rapping on the door, and she looks, and behind our dog, on the post right there, on the fence or whatever, what do you call that? It goes around the back deck.
Railing?
The railing, thank you. On the railing was like a full-size red-tailed hawk, literally sitting 6-8 feet away from our dog, and it was sitting there just perched, chilling.
Dude.
And my stomach sank because I'm like, that thing could have carried our little dog off. And she's a lap dog. All she would have did was try to roll over and have it pet her,
right,
or whatever. That's just how she is. But yeah, so man, crazy stuff out there.
Those watch your dog, dude.
Yeah, I had this picture of my dog in the talons of this hawk, getting carried across the lake and just kind of going off into the sunset. And that was the last we saw the dog. It was a horrible.
I don't mean to laugh.
Dude, not to make it too gory, but the reality is that hawk's gonna freaking drop that dog to kill it, and then it's gonna come back and eat it, dude. So it's not gonna be pretty, dude.
It would be hopefully it'd be a quick death. Like
I don't think it would be, sadly enough. So you gotta watch that dog.
I know. I'm definitely, because see these hawks, they sit around the perimeter and they watch for whatever they watch for. I think we lost our cat to one of those hawks.
I'm betting they're sitting around the perimeter waiting for they're patterning you. That's what they're doing.
She's up to 13 pounds now, so it's going to be a lot harder for
Yeah,
him.
It's just going to be a bigger meal.
Yeah, they'll probably gang up. It'd be like
That's like them freaking birds when they go and they like come down and they grab like a bass and it's a little too big for them to carry, and you see them doing this, like they're flying away, like you see them drop because they're like, oh, it's too much weight, dude. I bit off more than I can chew.
Yeah, I've seen. I saw a couple eagles fighting over a fish in the air, which is really cool over at Cedar several years ago.
Dude.
Yeah, it's intense. That's the thing where you want to have your camera to capture that, because it's like that once in a lifetime type of deal.
Yeah.
The first day out with my camera last year, there was some sort of bird of prey. I don't know my birds, but I heard something, and it was a splash. I was like, that was weird. Well, I looked back and I saw a bird get up out of the water, and here it comes again, like 4 foot from the boat. Just kaboom, got me wet, sitting in my boat. Yes. I'm like, holy cow. And I'm like fumbling around trying to find a camera because I was just getting everything set up for the day and couldn't ever get it on film, but it was like right in my face.
What kind of bird was it? You don't know?
I don't know. It's some sort of like
Was it like
falcon.
an osprey or something big? Okay.
Probably an osprey, yeah.
Dang, that's pretty hardcore. Scrolling through these numbers. No winner yet.
So I shouldn't say the number, right?
No.
I can't win. I can't jump on here and drop it in the comments box.
As long as it's your alter ego and nobody knows.
Yeah, right.
We were actually kind of mildly accused of that because Stephanie, who's on here, she won like 2 or 3 times in a row. And people are like, are you texting her the number? You know, is there something going on behind the screen? That wasn't what was going on, but
dude, what's funny is that other podcast I was on, so they do a giveaway as well, and literally there's just some dude in the chat or whatever, and they're like, dude, this Chris is gonna win. That was his name. Chris is gonna win. He wins everything. Well, lo and behold, dude, and he had won the prize the week before. They have a random number generator in the whole deal.
Oh, really?
That Joker freaking won, dude. So he was super cool about it though, and he threw his prize back in the mix, which was kind of like pretty classy, dude. I guess.
Yeah, that's really cool. We got a winner.
We do have a winner. Perry.
Congratulations, Perry. Hit me up on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing or 10 Horse Monty, or Instagram 10 Horse Monty 6. Send me your contact information, your shipping information, and we'll get you something out here.
It's a new one
sometime this week. Yeah. Welcome to the show, man. It's good to see a new name on here. New winner. It's always fun.
Now the fun part is getting to the bottom of this list.
Yeah, we got like 1,000 numbers. At one time, I was like, we should make it between the number between 1 and 400, and then I'm like, no, it take 45 minutes to get a winner.
No, because I can barely see tonight, and I'm trying to like decipher and focus. And
so, what do you got going? What do you got going on the rest of the year? You got big plans? You got any trips lined up? Or
the rest of the year? It's still early.
I mean, I'm gonna try. I got to go back to Florida because I go down there twice a year, and then I'm gonna try to set up a trip to Wisconsin and maybe Michigan. We'll see. I want to go see my best friend up there, and I always I don't know if it's the same by you guys. I assume it is, but fall can be good, but overall it sucks. At least down on the TVA, dude, it's freaking terrible. And so I hit September, October, and the fishing up north, dude, them fish are stupid. It's fun, and you can go up. The best time to go is obviously spring, but that late summer, early fall kind of deal is pretty good, and you can catch largemouth, smallmouth, and that. So I'm gonna try to sneak up there maybe sometime in September and shoot some content and see my buddy and just kind of have a good time. So that's about the biggest thing I got planned. I go around and I help to run the Gambler Free Tournament, so I'll run the one on Guntersville. We run one on Lanier, which is probably one of my favorite lakes to fish. So I'll probably end up spending a week there. Last year, dude, I found 2 fish over 9 pounds, that close to being on bed on freaking Lanier, largemouth, dude. And I ended up staying there 5 days straight to try to catch them jokers, and I never caught them. I ended up catching 7, but they were just so mean to me. I could see them. They're swimming around. One of them was
was it by a dock? Was one of them by a dock?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It
Yeah.
freaking broke my heart, dude. It was on a dock, freaking, it's like 30 feet deep, and he's suspended under a dock, and I could throw a freaking, what do you call it, a river to sea, like a what's that glide bait?
S-Waver? The
S-Waver, yeah. I could throw an S-Waver. This joker would come out from under the dock, go swim next to his bed, follow my S-Waver, and just stare at me. And I'm like, oh! And so I would back off, dude. She would go swim like over to her bed and stay 5 feet out. I caught the male once. I put something on the bed. I put the S-Waver on the bed. She just would not like just 2 feet, 3 feet. And it's just, and then there was another one that I found the weirdest deal. I went way back up in this creek and I caught that 7, which I broke off the first time being an idiot. But dude, so there's like a 3.5 and a 7 on a bed. So I after an hour and a half, I finally caught that one. But as I'm sitting there, I'm in like 3.5, 4 feet of water in the back of a creek. Water's pretty clear, but not like, it's got a little stain to it. There's giant like log that I'm fishing across to catch this fish, and I'm power poled down. And so as I'm fishing this fish, like I see this dark shadow go under the boat. I'm like, what the hell did she get off the bed? And I look up and that 7's still on the bed, the 3-pounder's with her. And so this happened a couple of times. And then finally I see the dark shadow again. I'm like, dude, I got to figure this out. So I looked down and I just kind of waited for a second, and like watched exactly dude, there's like a freaking like 9-pounder out from this bed just swimming. So I think there was a bed right behind her that this one was going to go on, but she wasn't ready. And literally as I'm trying to catch the 7, she's just swimming back and forth under my boat, dude. And she never locked on. Like there was a male up on this other bed right behind where I caught the 7. And I think that's where she was going, but she just never locked, dude. And I mean, there's some monsters in freaking Lanier, dude. Like just flipping monsters, dude. And it has great spotted bass fishing, but there are some elusive, gigantic largemouth, dude.
Do you think that fish like felt your presence there?
No, I think she wasn't ready.
Yeah.
What ended up happening is, so I ended up staying there for 5 days. So the spots spawned a wave of them. Obviously not all of them, but there was a wave that spawned because the first day that we got there, I think I fished. Okay, so the first day I got there, I dicked around for a couple hours and caught some fish shallow, just some little rats and that. Like I had like 3 hours. Then we ran the Gambler Free tournament. During the tournament, I went out and took the sales reps and we dicked around and we found just a little saddle that was probably like 5 or 6 foot deep. And dude caught like 18 pounds of spots in like 2 hours, like nice. One after the other. And it was all like Ned rig, little Kitech, but along the bottom, and they spawn on those saddles. So the sales rep guys left. I went and found more stuff like that and wrecked them. Had another like 18 pounds freaking, like I think for 2 days straight. And it was stupid. And then all of a sudden on that, what would be the 4th day, it died, like gone. Like I went back to all those spots. You'd catch like a few dinks here and there. And I think they just spawned out. So I ran, weather was beautiful every day, started running up in these creeks and upriver a little further. And the largemouth, like I could just start seeing them swimming in. And that 7, I actually went in there. She wasn't on the bed. I had to coax her onto it. You know how you kind of like, you draw them over and that, like after like 45 minutes, you keep putting a bait on there. And the other 2, I stayed 1 extra day and I thought they would lock on in that day. And they didn't. And the next day there was a huge front that went through. So I'm assuming they just knew that was coming and they never locked on and they kicked them back. And then whatever, 4 days from then or whatever, when the sun came out and everything kind of chilled out, I bet you they popped, dude.
Yeah.
It's all timing with that.
Yeah,
dude.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like it's such a timing thing.
Yeah. There's that moon is a play, but in the end, it's them fish are going to go when they want to go. And a lot of it's based upon like the weather and their moment, dude. They just have their time.
Good night, Small Water Charters. Thanks for stopping by. Is there any new Gambler baits coming out or anything?
Yeah. Hold on. Because I got to take pictures of them. Let me grab some.
All right.
I just got these directly from where. So
I'm going to put you on solo screen here. So you're
solo, dude. I don't know if I can manage this show.
It's just like you're doing a YouTube video now.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Mikey Balzz Fishing. So we got a bunch of new stuff coming out. There's actually some cool stuff that'll be directly by Attack the Warehouse, and we're working on a new creature style bait that should be pretty cool. But I asked Val to make a Ned style bait because, as you guys know, I love throwing a Ned. And I usually cut down an ace, which is basically just a generic stick bait, cut it down to like 2 inches, 2.5, 3 inches or so. But I really like also throwing a Tamiki stinger, and the stinger has a more sickle type tail, a little more pointed type tail. So I kind of told Val some of the stuff that I liked, and he's been playing around designing baits and stuff for years. And he kind of took some of those factors and put together this guy, which is a super generic name. It's just like the Power Ned. But let's see if I can actually render this. So from the looks of it, it just looks like an ace, right? It looks like a little more tipped ace. But what's really cool about it, let me see if I can get it right. So see, does it focus? All right, see how that's flat? And then see how it's flat like that?
Oh, yeah.
So basically, it's like super thin. There we go. Focus. Well, we'll pull it back a little. Maybe it'll show better. But it's super thin. And then it's a flat tab. So what ends up happening is it does this really cool gliding action that I don't like when the Neds spin. Like, I don't like them to do the helicopter down. I want them to kind of just glide through. If I want something that's going to slowly kind of like do that, I'll grab a tube or pitch a jig or something like that. But this has a real cool gliding action. And then what's also nice about it is made it a little bit longer. It's maybe a hair more girthy than your standard Ned bait, but you can put this on a shaky head, and it's a little short, stubby. I think it comes in at like 3.5 inches or something like that. But for me, I would cut this thing down to just like probably even a little less than that, but like something like that, and then put it on a Ned, so it's that short. But with it being a little bit longer, you can put it on a shaky head. And Val's actually been experimenting a little bit with punching with this thing. We were talking about baits that don't have a bunch of appendages and things along those lines. Well, they fall through the mat really well. So this is a super streamlined deal. It's going to fall straight through the mat. And then especially if those fish are in a weird mood, we'll talk dangle dicking. So you bring it up to kind of like the ceiling of the mat. And then that tail, you can see even when it's just in my hand, it just kind of shakes. So it should be pretty cool. It fits really well on the Power Net and that. So I'm kind of excited to play around with them. There's some cool colors. They won't really kind of render through, but they're pink, like freaking for spots and all that. This one's a super cool one. Where is this guy? I don't know if this one's going to show through, but this is what's called Southern Delight. It's actually an old school color. It's a transparent kind of, I wouldn't call it a lime green. It's almost like a transparent olive. And then it's got this smoky kind of like magic crawl kind of injection in the middle. Nice. Great for clear water. It's a funky color, and it's an old school color that we used to make in a lot of our crawl baits and stuff. But it should be pretty cool. It's a great finesse color for clear water.
That's awesome. So many baits, so little time. I gotta go through my plastics, man. It's out of control. You walk through my crap every time you come over here. But it's like you keep getting stuff, and then you'll put an extra couple unique packs in the boat, and then you'll put an extra couple unique packs in the boat, and next thing you know, you got like 70 unique packs of stuff, and it seems like you still end up going back to a lot of like your standard stuff, like your confident stuff.
Yeah. I never find all that stuff, all the juicy stuff that I thought I was going to have throughout the year until like the end of the year when I'm cleaning everything up, and I go to the back of the garage and there's like 4 Walmart bags full of crap, and it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Open up, it's like, oh, that's where I put that. Or then you find
found like 20 10XDs one time in a bag. You threw it away, didn't you?
It wasn't 10XDs, it was 6XDs. I threw like 3 dozen 6XDs into the trash can, like cleaning out my garage. I bought them on sale. So I was like at the academy, and when our academy first opened up here, they had like crazy stupid deals, like 50% off of all Strike King when you walk in there. So of course, you know what you're going to do. You're going to go stock up. So I stocked up probably, a couple $100 worth of 6XDs, threw them on my workbench in my old house. I was in a cleaning mood, so I was just throwing shit away. And it was a Walmart bag full of boxes, I thought. I just threw it in the trash can, bundled it all up, like picked the trash can up, threw it over the bag up over my shoulders. Like, man, that sounds really weird in there. I wonder what I threw away. So I opened up the bag, like dug through all this trash, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Pulled it out. I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Yeah.
I got so much tackle, I don't even know what I have anymore, and I'm throwing stuff away. Just throwing 6XDs away.
That's why you got to stay organized, man. I'm in the same boat. And I'm bad with plastics. I got that Florida in me, and I carry too many plastics around because I think I need them 365 days a year. And the reality is you don't.
And you go through the same 6 baits every day.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I mean, every once in a while, the thing is that up here, you do a lot more finesse fishing. And I do think sometimes that bait profile and having some weird finessey stuff matters, and that's when color matters a lot too. So that's where it gets tricky. But yeah, when it comes to like a jig trailer, like I'm gonna throw a Flappy Daddy on it, maybe a beaver, maybe a Mega. It's pretty straightforward. But I have tried to stay organized in my garage because fishing between here and Florida, or when I go to Lanier, I have like marked bins and stuff. So even if I don't keep it in the boat, I can throw it into my truck. It's like a marked Walmart box, and it says, like Damiki stingers, or like all Damiki plastics, or like all my crankbaits, all spare crankbaits, like deep divers, and I can just throw that in. Because, dude, if you don't, like, that shit ends up everywhere, dude. And then like you said, you can't find it, like spend all that money and you can't even use it because you don't know where the hell it is.
Yeah, my house, my office is organized. It's got everything super labeled and like
right
different though.
But when it comes upstairs to the boat, it's like completely different story. You just
that's why I need a bigger boat, dude. It's crazy how much like we're pack rats, dude. I'm like some years into this. I don't even know where I'll be in freaking 15, 20 years, dude. I'll need a yacht. Like I'll need a boat to hold my boat with all the boat stuff in it.
Yeah.
Pull a little tube around behind your boat.
Dude. Yeah, like a tote trailer, like a boat tote trailer. Dude,
it would be better to have like a pontoon, because then you could have all your storage bins and everything.
Oh yeah,
and you just jump off
some like lifting storage, like some under deck storage, dude. Yeah.
Just like a chase boat. That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah, when I become big time enough, I'll do that. I'll have my buddy just ride around with all my backups with me, dude.
See, I was thinking years ago, like about having a tackle boat that when there's a big tournament on a lake, that you have like the hot baits and stuff that's going on, and you would actually go around and have like a loud horn and just kind of hey, are you running low on what such and such? I got your hookup right here. I got your hookup right here. Cash only.
You'd be like a hot dog salesman at the stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Man. Or like the drinks guy on the golf course, man. Selling your freaking Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Ice cold beer.
Good point, though,
if you had the time, man, you could pull that off, I bet.
Every couple years, I'll go through my boat. Not even a couple years. Every year and a half or so, I'll go through my boat and like dump it and start over again, and like go through and be like, dude, I haven't thrown this shit for like a year. Like, I'm not gonna throw it. Like, and you kind of just put it to the side, reorganize, and it's amazing how this sounds stupid, but like liberating, but also organizing for the way you approach stuff when you're on the water, when you know you have X, Y, and Z to work with. And that's what you have to work with. It's sort of like a good refresher, and it sort of puts you a little more on target, I think. You might not have all these crazy perfect baits, but you kind of have your wheelhouse. And when you clean the boat out and make it a little more streamlined to sort of work for you better in that way, I find it helpful, dude. And it's less stressful, too. Having a little less to choose from makes it easier to choose, too, what you're actually going to be using. Because they all work, dude.
Yeah.
See, that's usually like mid-season for me. I have to... With fishing small boats, you have to clean them out every once. You have to clean them out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So, and still trying to, not that my boat is new to me or new setup, but I'm always like tinkering with how I'm going to run. If I can gain like a half mile an hour just by organizing my tackle, I'll definitely organize my tackle. But I hate having stuff just not organized in the boat.
Agreed.
So I'm super like.
I got like 60 pounds of plastic probably in my boat.
Yeah. See, I'm not that bad. I got like too many bags of, because I'm too organized. Where you got, I'm going to put creature baits or, we'll do shameless here. Gambler burner crawls in this bag, and then I'll put Zoom old monsters in this bag. And then, so now I got like 7 bags all lined up. They all have different plastics in them, but I'm organized.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad for putting like a half a bag of something in there. So you try to fit something else in there. It's like, damn it. Now I'm overloaded. And
yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
added
a
another
fine
60
balance,
pounds of
dude.
plastic. What's that?
There's a fine balance. Like it is hard. Like I've tried to like carry more stuff in the truck because I figure if I really want it that bad and I needed it that bad, I'm willing to run back to the truck, whether it's 5 miles, 10 miles, 2 miles, and I'll go get it. It's in the truck. It makes me feel better about my life and my moment, you know. But like, because in the end, dude, like you're really using. There's certain windows, you know. Like we're in winter, dude. It's cold. Like you better have a blade bait. You better have a shaky head or a net. You better have like a trap, you know, like it's pretty straightforward, a little jigging spoon. Like there ain't much to it. You're not going to be throwing a freaking ribbon tail worm and all that. So like sometimes it helps just to kind of get that stuff out, dude. And like, I don't know, just kind of clears your mind too. Because then you know, like when you're digging in the boat, like you're not digging through all that crap too, you know, you're going straight to what you need.
Most days you could fish the entire day out of a Walmart bag.
That's true.
Right.
That is true.
I mean,
I love when people leave those Walmart bags in my boat. My buddy is renowned for going to the tackle shop and buying a bunch of shit and leaving the stupid bag. Dude, I've scored like 3 jackhammers in the past 6 months. Like, just like cool stuff. A bunch of freaking what are those spinner baits called? The War Eagle spinner baits, dude. Like, he just leaves these bags, and I'm like, dude, you just spent like $45 at the tackle store to leave it in my boat. Thank you.
Yeah. That's better than gas money. It's like a
that's
surprise.
You know? I didn't think about that.
Good deal. Anybody out there? You got any last minute questions for Mikey? We've been on here for about 2 hours, and it's been cool hanging out with you, bro.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's always cool to kind of go back and forth, share perspectives, and like understand different things. One thing I got to ask you though, I got a question for you. So you guys fish a lot of those highland impoundments kind of thing up in Missouri. Like there's a lot of clear water and a lot of spotted bass, I'm sure. You're talking about shaky head fishing. So I fished Smith Lake down here, and Smith Lake has a lot of spots in that. What shaky head do I need and what worm to catch? I'm not talking about catching the biggest fish, but I'm talking about like a numbers, like all around perfect presentation. Like what weight, and I'm fishing anywhere from 5 feet of water down to 40, basically.
That's you.
That's me.
That's all you.
Yeah,
it's 100%. Yeah, no, that's why.
Yeah, he's not a finesse. He's not really a finesse fisherman. Gosh. So where we live at, we're kind of fishing a lot more grass lakes in southern Illinois, but I have fished Table Rock, and I'm getting ready to go hit Bull Shoals here sometime really soon. For me personally, it's hard to go wrong with like just a little Zoom finesse worm. I mean, that's if I really need bites, like a little 5-inch Zoom finesse worm.
Like old school, dude. Super
old school, yeah. Watermelon candy is kind of like my go-to color. I just like that. You know, it seems like that gets bites in clear water situations just about anywhere. And to be honest, I like a shaky head that doesn't have a screw lock. That's just my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion about that. But to me, it seems like sometimes that screw lock gets too close to the hook point and it kind of limits the gap that you've got.
Okay. So
if I just got like a regular keeper that's on the collar, I feel like I get more gap in there on the hook, and I think my hookup ratio is a lot better.
Okay.
And I've been using like the Big Bite Baits makes a shaky head that I've had a lot of. It's just a ball head shaky head. It's got probably like a 3-aught. I want to say it's a gammy hook on there.
Okay.
But I've had a lot of good luck with that hook. That's kind of my personal setup. Now, obviously, if you're fishing out deeper, you're going to be, going 1/4 ounce or better. Shallow 1/8 ounce. What else? The Fish Doctor. You ever fished the little Zoom Fish Doctor?
No.
Check that out. It's a little centipede. It's pretty cool. The fishing's really tough.
Is it like the old centipede, like the old school one?
It's kind of like that, but it's got a flat side on it.
Okay.
And it's rounded on the top, but it's got flat on the bottom. And it's got, so basically you got an option of, if you rig it flat side down, you can get the glide. But if you flip it over to where it's kind of rounded, it falls a lot more straight down, slower, faster. So if you got maybe some wind, you want it to get down a little, quicker. So you got 2 options there.
Yeah, my shaky head consists of a 1/2 ounce shaky head with a
6-inch worm,
6-inch Cinco on
it.
He's a power shaky. Yeah. Well, you going to make a trip up this way sometime, or you just talking in general?
Well, Smith Lake fishes a lot like
Table rock.
Table rock, from what I understand, because it is a highland impoundment. And I'll be honest with you, you know, I'll catch them and then I won't catch them out there. But the one thing that always holds true that the old timers always talk about is 90% of the time you can catch them on a shaky head. You might not catch like a 3-pounder or a 4-pounder, but you're going to get bit. And it's something that I've played around with. I actually use that gambler shaky head, the giggy head. But what's interesting, I really like a screw lock, but I am by no means an avid shaky head fisherman. I like the convenience of the screw lock and the way it makes the bait stand. But I'm not saying that's right. And I do miss a lot of fish too, which might have something to do with that hook gap. But it's definitely something I don't like doing it, to be perfectly honest. I'd rather catch them doing something different. But the reality is, just like a Texas rig ribbon tail, some things work and they're standards and not legacy baits, but they're staples, I guess you could say. And there's a reason for it, you know? So you got to walk before you run. So I need to know how to fish a shaky head a lot better and be better at that before I can get all with my crazy stuff.
Take that screw lock and cut it back a little bit. If you want to make it so, like, a lot of them will have basically 3 complete turns on it. Cut it back to like a turn and a half. That's just enough to kind of get it in there and hold it. That'll give you an extra 1/16 of an inch, which doesn't sound like much for the gap.
Like a quarter of an inch.
Maybe like a quarter of an inch. Yeah, depending on how long the keeper is. But that's because it does make a difference. It's like a really stiff weed guard if you think about it. It impedes the hook gap.
Oh, you're not the only one to say. JT actually told me the same thing, dude.
Yeah,
like he will not throw a screw lock or like a screw keeper shaky head. And I'm just stubborn, you know. Like, I mean, we kind of all are, you know. Like, that's what I use and that's what I got. But that doesn't mean it's right, because I haven't done a bunch of experimentation with it. It's more one of those things. I got out in the water, couldn't catch them any other way. I know a shaky head catches them 9 times out of 10. So I picked up what I had and kind of went to town with it. But it's definitely something I need to explore a little bit more.
Well, with not having it rigged on a shaky head, it's more like a straight shank hook at that point.
You mean not having the screw lock? Or whatever?
Yeah, because when you have it just there, the pressure, I mean, it comes right out on my.
Oh yeah, it pops. I guess that's the only thing that worries me too is, you know, you're dragging through wood and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to hang, you know. But at the same time, your hookup ratio is better. It makes sense.
Right. It's not bad though. I think you play around with it, you'll find it comes through stuff pretty well. Not like with a bigger something you're jacking them on like 15, 17
I'm
pound
gonna throw the screw lock.
Yeah, screw lock's fine. You'll bend the dang screw lock. You'll get the hook into them if you jack them hard. But when you're finessing like 8-pound tests and stuff, that's a big difference.
Because I actually run ledge fishing. One of the sneaky things is you run like a 1/2 ounce shaky head, dude. And it's badass, dude. Like, you put that friggin' 6 or 7 inch like straight tail on it. It's naughty for ledge fishing, but it's shaky head fishing, but I would consider that like shaky head fishing. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. You got a couple suggestions on here.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. And you know what the funny part is? 3/16 seems to be this magic freaking number. Like, some people throw an 1/8. I always throw a 1/4, you know, when I'm a little deeper in that. But when the majority of guys that I've talked to that, like, I have some respect for, you know, or like those old timers that have that real funny look because they've caught so many damn fish, like, you got to have 3/16. Yeah. It's like, why? And he's like, 3/16. I'm like, seriously, dude? Like, why not a 1/4? 3/16. It's like, okay, dude. But it's like one of those like cult deals with a shaky head. It's got to be a 3/16, dude.
1/8 and 3/16 are so if I'm throwing like a worm, I think 1/8 is, you can get by with 1/8. But if you go to something like a baby brush hog or maybe like a speed crawl or like a smaller crawl, that 3/16 is just enough weight to get it down a little bit faster, you know, so you're not waiting forever. So that's like the two before I made the stupid mistake and started going 1/4 all the time, which I'm back down to 1/8 and 3/16 again. But yeah, I think that's the two weights that you need that get you the most bites. And then another thing is with like that 1/8, we talked about, like, you can kind of pull up just a little bit and it actually kind of glides. It almost swims. Yep. You hardly ever get hung up. It's so light that it doesn't dig.
That's the old ticking principle, dude.
And I think
you don't have any feeling, but like, it just sort of ticks and glides across everything. As long as you know it's down there, it's doing its job. you can't feel a damn thing until something snatches it up, dude.
That's exactly right. You can really feel the bite. It amplifies
Yeah.
the bite with that really light weight. And
Yep.
I think I was thinking about this last year. I think it makes a different sound. So if you just think about a weight, you take a 1/4 ounce weight and you take an 1/8 ounce weight. And if you were to drag it without putting any pressure on it at all, somehow maybe you had it. I don't know how you would do it, but the sound that a 1/4 ounce of weight would make dragging across a rock versus the sound of an 1/8 ounce weight. I think it's a more finessey sound.
For every action, there's an equal reaction, dude. So if you have more weight, it's more energy. So it probably makes a louder, a deeper tonk or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. In my head, it gives me confidence thinking there's something to that. I think a combination of the snag resistance, the way it glides, and then a even more subtle sound across the rock.
You got me all fired up. I'm gonna go freaking fish a shaky head all day tomorrow, dude.
Yeah, you're gonna come out with like 3 shaky head videos next week or something. Mikey goes from punching to shaky head.
That's right, dude.
Change the channel.
Cover all your bases.
So
catch 5 for 4.5 pounds.
Hey, I don't give a shit as long as I'm catching fish. Today was rough, dude. So I will take some catching fish.
You'll catch 5 for 4.5. You'll take that tomorrow. Huh?
Fine with me as long as I'm getting bit.
I have my line tied. I'm with you. Well, cool, man. Let's wrap this up. It's been a little over 2 hours. It's been a blast. Appreciate you once again coming on here. We got links to Mikey Balzz YouTube channel. So if you guys haven't checked Mikey out, go check him out, man. He's got nothing but good stuff on there. You'll learn a lot.
Appreciate that, dude.
And it's been real, dude. It's been real.
Hey, it's been fun, dude. If you guys ever want to do it again, just hit me up, man. I really enjoyed chatting.
We'll definitely do that. Same time, same place next week, next Monday. I don't know who we got on here. It may just be me and Jonathan Jabber John.
We got some good guests
Dingle Dickin or whatever.
Dingle Dickin, yeah.
I
remember that. It's great. It'll get you
some good guests
trouble,
lined up for February, though, so stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. So it's good seeing some new faces on here. And until next time, I'm gonna get out of here.